Hello, good evening, and good day, everybody, and welcome to the Ask Abhijit show. This is episode 375. I hope you're all doing great. So, as always, we shall take your questions, whatever questions you have, over the next couple of hours, maybe 2-3 hours. And before we get into the questions, let me see who all is there on the live stream. What shall we take? What questions shall we take? That will all depend on you. So, we have D. Kalashnikov, Varinder Marwa, Moksh, Ishan Das, Jeet Gautam. Who else do we have? Priyanshu Poli, Snowflex, Rekha Humle, Jai Shri Ram ma'am, Chirag Srinath, Rishabh Chaudhary. Geopolitical Dubey is here from Indore. Good evening, sir. Always good to have you. Kumar Kanishk is here. Rahul Sharma, Ashna John, Namaste. Freaky Nikki, Rahul Dunake, good to see you. Good to see you. Good evening. Apurva Anupama, Mangal Grahase from Mars. Fantastic. Who else do we have? Mary Kay, Namaskar. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. Amey Atul Pule, bonjour. Samarth Pramanik, Jai Shri Ram, Imperial Bharat. Vaishnav Natesh. Ayush Singh is here. Good evening, Ayush Singh. Good to see you. Pranam Sarji, Pranam. Manhattan I6W. Anuradha Kumari. Good to see you, ma'am. P. Sudhir Kumar, Aryan Mishra, Hensi Penguin. Good to see you, Hensi Penguin. Vench Acharya, Safed Bhoot. Who else? Nirvana Shanks. Good evening, Nirvana Shanks San. Excuse me. P. Sudhir Kumar is here from Andhra Pradesh. Good to see you. Who else do we have? Sky K1644. Who else? Manhattan once again. Kumar Kanishk. Aryan Mishra is an alien apparently. Okay. Karan Nalawat, Jai Shri Ram ji. Karan Nalawat. Rishi Chandre. Hello there. Hello indeed. Harsh Negi. Hello. Good to see you. Lippy the Lion. Good evening. Imperial Bharat hyphen. Jade Rabbit. Namaskaram. Jade Rabbit. Piyush Sinha is here from Bihar. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Short GK facts. All right. Rishabh Dang. Hello. Sangam Kumar. Hi. Somi is here. Priyanshi Sud Om. Kumar Kanishk once again. XP1XP. All right. Hyphen 6552 Jai Shri Ram. Anup is here from Pune. Good evening. Somi is here from Jaipur. Good evening. Who else do we have? McLevin is here. Good evening. Krishna is here. Namasta. Random Skull. Hello. Harsh Negi. Har Mahadev. Safed Booth once again. Tanmay Deshpande once again. Shishir Upadhyay. Good evening. Vaishnav Natesh, Adarsh K, Nayan Jyoti Borag, hello, and so many of you. So I won't be able to greet you all individually. Soham Pense is here from Goa. Archana Mahajan, good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Archana ji is here from LinkedIn. Good to see you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ganesh Saini, hello. James is here. Okay, let's take some questions. Let's see. James says, if US targets Pickaxe Mountain, what is Iran's response going to be like, and why is Iran not developing ICBMs that can reach the USA? Iran is being very smart. Okay, they are not trying to bite off more than they can chew. They are very clear about what they want their position to be. They want their position to be that of a regional hegemon. They want to dominate West Asia, and that's about it. Once they can establish full domination of West Asia, they may think of maybe having projecting power beyond. And we don't know what sort of missiles they currently have. They clearly have world-class engineers. There's no question about that. And they have missiles that can certainly travel 2,000-3,000 kilometers, maybe 3,500 kilometers. So medium range ballistic missiles. Now, do they have ballistic missiles that have a longer range than that? We don't know. They haven't demonstrated such capabilities. It doesn't mean they don't have those capabilities, right? So that's how I see it. My answer is I don't know whether they're developing ICBMs or not. But once you can develop short range and then medium range ballistic missiles, it's just not that difficult to extend the range. To extend the range, you need just more fuel, essentially. And of course, you Some tweaking and stuff, but overall it's not that difficult once you have a medium range ballistic missile to extend the range. Let's say double the range. You will need a larger rocket, obviously, larger stages and so on, but it's not that hard. If the US targets Pickaxe Mountain, what's Iran's response going to be like? They'll hit hard at US assets in the region. What are US assets in the region? The various vassals of the US. Many of the Gulf countries. The US still uses various air bases and other military bases in the region, which are no longer American bases, but the bases of the host countries. And then you have the infrastructure of the host countries, oil and gas infrastructure, oil wells, refineries, ports. These are all nations that have this contract with the US that we're going to be under US protection. That's the security guarantee the US has given to these nations. And Iran can breach those security guarantees and render them hollow at will. So that's what Iran could do, right? Okay. Ayush Singh has a very interesting question. Why are the Gulf states so dependent on the US? And how has Washington maintained enough leverage for so long that they risk the very image of the security they've built? It's a good question, yes? Of course, it's a good question. Why are the Gulf states so dependent on the US? We are obviously talking about the major oil producing nations. Let's take one example. Okay, only one example. This applies to other Gulf states also, apart from Iran. Let's take the example of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, and let's look at the map. Okay, we opened the map early today. There is a specific quality that you see on the map when you look at the West Asian nations. What's the specific quality that the map shows you? Straight line borders. Straight lines. You see? The borders, the international borders are straight lines. Straight lines. You have some zigzagging, but the zigzagging is also straight. Okay? Look at all these nations. Straight line borders. Look here. Look here. Straight lines. Straight lines. So whenever you see straight lines on a map, look at India. Do you see straight lines? No. It's jagged. These aren't straight lines. When you see straight lines on a border, please understand that's the hallmark of an artificial nation. So at the end of the Second World War and so on, the Western nations, primarily the UK and France, they divided up the former Ottoman territories in West Asia among themselves for their own benefit, to serve their own interests, not the interests of the locals who lived in the region, but British and French interests. So they took maps and they drew straight lines on the map. And then they created nations afterwards, after drawing lines on the map. So these are artificial nations. When you create artificial nations for your own benefit, it's not going to serve the people who are in the nations. And the people who are in the nations, they typically don't belong together. Let's say you create this artificial nation called Iraq. You have Kurds inside Iraq, you have Arabs inside Iraq, you have Shias, you got Sunnis and so on. If you create a nation like Jordan, look at the ethnic mix there. Look at Saudi Arabia, Yemen, all that. So when you create such nations and you install puppet regimes there who will then serve you by selling you their oil, then you create a situation where the regime actually is your regime. The king, let's say you install a monarchy there, okay? A king. That king actually serves you. He doesn't serve his people. He has no connection with his people. And when you are ruling an oil-rich nation, you don't collect taxes from the people. You give them petrol and everything for free. And the contract is that we will keep everything free for you. We will not charge taxes or anything, and you leave us alone. You allow us to rule the country. So essentially, these Gulf monarchies, they depend on an external power for their legitimacy, for their continuity, for their security, for their existence. Okay, these are not popular monarchies. I'm not saying all of them aren't popular. Some of them are popular potentially. But these are held together by force. And The security guarantee comes from outside. If Washington stops giving the security guarantee, these regimes will collapse. Because you have all those internal frictions, these historical grievances and frictions that are currently suppressed by force. There are all the tribal rivalries, and God knows the hundreds of years of history that will suddenly emerge if the US security guarantee evaporates. All right, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. And that's why they create artificial nations and put people together who don't belong together. So that you need external security guarantees. That's how you rule countries. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have? Lots of questions already, which is good to see. Lots. Before I get into the super chat, I will take some of the live chat questions. Lots of them. Lots. Okay, Ajit Gautam says Lord Ram used to wear a yak horn headgear called chamar. And yak is also called chamar in Sanskrit. There are more than 15 references of it in Valmiki Ramayana. Fantastic. All right. Just like Sumerian Scythians, our land also had horned headgear thing in the past, as we can see in murals depicted in Sonauli grave coffin. We can see that in the Pashupati seal. Have you seen the Sindhu Saraswati seal, Pashupati seal? Let me show you. All right. Pashupati seal. If you see this seal, you will see it's wearing a horned headgear. And this one is thousands and thousands, like 5,000-6,000 years old. Tremendously ancient, yes? Okay. In Valmiki Ramayana, the word always comes with vyajane, which is a prefix of V, with the word yajan, which means sacrifice. Sacrifice is a very poor approximation in the English language. It's not really sacrifices, but anyway. All right, so sacrifice, but everywhere it has been translated as fan, which has been done later to make it look like we did not practice animal sacrifice, or we were non-violent people and vegetarians. Which okay, all right, okay. The word chamar also always appears with royal items like throne, chariot, sword, bow, arrow, coronation, etc. Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, yes, Jainism all use the word for a fan made of yak tail hair. But can anyone describe why, after defeating army of 40,000 Rakshasas in Dandak 1, Ram sees the Rakshas bodies are lying on the battlefield with the sword and bows and scattered chamars? If it's a fan, is it logical to bring it in the battlefield? Okay. When Bharat goes back to Ayodhya, he puts Ram's chamar on throne, but it has been translated, Bharat fans Ram's throne. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Not just Northeast, even Chhattisgarhi Gond tribes still wear bison horn gear for festival. Valmiki Ramayana describes chamar in different places. There are golden gems as embellishments on chamar. Who does it on a fan? Very interesting points you're raising here, sir. Very interesting points. Valmiki Ramayana describes chamar in different places. Yeah, I got it. Yes. So how did these changes happen? I believe that at that time the headgear had yak horns, and middle portion there was a yak tail whisk. It was the symbol of royalty. Okay. So now today only the yak hair whisk remains to stay non-violent, and real horns and helmet is gone. Naram Sim of Sumeria wore similar gear after announcing that he's a god, which makes me believe at the time of Naram Sin it was meant for gods only. But in Ramayana, Ravan wore the chamar at well. I have a lot more to say about it and other things which I have researched for years. I really want to talk to you in private if it's possible. Charm, okay, cannot turn into chavar, but chamar can turn into chamara, chavra, chavda, etc. Okay, I get it. Look, if you want to contact me, you can email me. My email is typically found in the description of videos. If it's not in the live stream description, look at some of my other videos, maybe the shorts or maybe the regular short clips. You'll find my email ID there. Whatever you have, please email me. I'll look into it. All right. Thank you for sharing these very interesting perspectives. Ajit, thank you. Okay, Priyanshu Poli says, MEA official said we are negotiating with Myanmar in regards to territories in Northeast. So, who are we negotiating with? Army, rebels, or cookies? Any prediction on the Israeli election? I have no predictions for the Israeli elections. We'll see about that. MEA officials said we are negotiating with Myanmar. So the question you are asking is, who are we negotiating with? Is it the Myanmarese junta, the military government? Is it the so-called rebels who are fighting against the Myanmar government? Is it the cookies who are also God knows doing what? Yeah. So who is the Indian government talking with? To get the answer to that, you're gonna have to ask the government of India, not me. I have no idea. I have no idea. Territories in the northeast and so on. I have no idea. And see, look, some people are saying that this is like India is going to exchange territories or gain territory from Burma. That's not the case. We're talking about a couple of kilometers here, a couple of kilometers there, that sort of thing, just to finalize or lock the border in. Some places it's not demarcated properly or something. That's the main situation. So it's not like we are going to now get some territories from Burma and we're going to have more Akhandar Bharat. It's not that. So when it comes to who the government of India is negotiating with, I have no idea. You're going to have to ask them. I would not want to speculate. I would not want to speculate. Okay. Amir Turpole says, bonjour, le changement climatique est-il un phénomène naturel que l'activité humaine n'a fait qu'accélérer? Ou sommes-nous aujourd'hui confrontés à un dérèglement climatique largement inévitable? So what Amir is saying is climate change a natural phenomenon that human activity is accelerating or has accelerated? Or are we today faced with a climatic disruption that's mostly inevitable? That's what he's asking. So climate change is a natural phenomenon. The Earth's climate has always been changing. Always. It's not like the Earth is like a steady state system, always in equilibrium and nothing changes. No, it's ever changing. But right now, there is a human element to climate change. The greenhouse gases that we have spewed into the atmosphere over the past 200, 300 years, mainly done by the West, that's now having the effect of gradually increasing the average temperature on the surface of the planet. By the end of the century, most likely the average temperature will rise by a couple of degrees Celsius. So there is a human element to it, but there's also a massive natural element to it. Climate keeps changing. Climate is an ever evolving thing. Now, is it possible for us to undo the human mediated factor, that element of climate change? Mostly impossible. Yeah. So we are not going to see a climatic disruption. We may see slightly more accelerated climate change. We're going to see global warming. I mean, look at what's happening in Europe right now. Massive heat waves. The Danube River is at the lowest in centuries or something. One of the greatest of rivers in Europe. One of the major rivers in Europe. The Danube. It's gone down. People are now able to find mammoth bones and God knows what other fossils on the bottom of the river, on the sandbars and whatnot. So yeah, climate is changing. The change is accelerating. The Earth is warming. There's a human element to it. It's not a disruption, it's an acceleration. And it's mostly gonna be irreversible. Yeah. Okay. Rahul says, why don't we find polar bears in Antarctica when Antarctica is a replica of the Arctic North Pole? If you want to answer the question of why we don't find polar bears or any kind of bear in Antarctica, let's ask a slightly different question. Why don't we find any kind of bear in Africa? Is no bear in Africa? Do we have bears in South America? Let me find out. Do bears exist in South and Central America? Bears. Yes, bears exist in South America, but this so you have an Andean bear. That's fantastic. So you have bears, the Andean bear, spectacle bear. We have spectacled bears in India. Okay, so you have bears in South America, but nothing in Central America. That's fascinating. And of course, Africa, I know we have no bears. We don't have any bears in Africa. Have there ever been bears? Oh, the Atlas bear. That was up in the north, right? No, North Africa. Okay, so it was hunted to extinction. Agriotherium, etc. So the point is, you don't have bears in Africa, you have bears in South America. I think bears are mostly native to the northern hemisphere. And there's no connection, physical land bridge or whatever, from the northern hemisphere or between Africa and Antarctica or between South America and Antarctica. There's no land bridge. I don't think there's ever been a land bridge that I can think of in the past million or so years. Maybe five. Let's fact check that also. Has a land bridge ever existed between South America and Antarctica anytime in the past 10 million years? Nope, not happened. So that explains a lot, right? So that's why there's no bears there. Okay. Rahul Dunake says, have Saudis and Turkey buried their hatchet or enmity associated with the killing of a Turkish journalist Jamal Khashoggi by the Saudis? It's not like Turkey cares about what happened to that guy. He wasn't Turkish, by the way. Jamal Khashoggi was Saudi. And he was, I think, killed in Turkey. He was killed in Turkey. In the Saudi embassy, I think. Right? That's 2017, 18, 19, somewhere around that time. And because of that, the West turned Mohammed bin Salman into a pariah, didn't they? And India remained on good terms with him, despite him being, essentially turned into a pariah by the West. Excommunicated almost. So Mr. Modi remained on good terms with him while everyone else was not talking with him. And now we have the situation where Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan have signed a mutual defense agreement. So India has been on friendly terms with Saudi Arabia, and this is how Saudi Arabia repays India, by getting into bed with Turkey and Pakistan. So does it mean that the Saudis and Turkey have buried their hatchet? There was no hatchet to begin with. Look, the Jamal Khashoggi incident is not the cause of the Saudi-Turkey rivalry or enmity. It's a whole different story. They are, of course, rivals. And that's what makes this deal even stranger, right? How did two rivals, Saudi Arabia and Turkey, come together? Why are they rivals is the big question, right? They are rivals because both aspire to the position of leadership, to the position, both seek to be leaders of the Islamic world, the leader of the Islamic world. Saudi Arabia wants to be the undisputed leader of the Islamic world, and Turkey wants to be the undisputed leader of the Islamic world. Saudi Arabia's justification is that the holiest sites of Islam, Mecca, Medina, etc., are in Saudi Arabia. So that's why we should be the leader of the Islamic world, and we are a big economy, and we are strong militarily or whatever. That's what they say. Turkey says we are the continuation, let's say, of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was the caliphate. Constantinople was the seat of the caliphate, the place where the caliph lived. Topkapi Palace, right? So that's why Turkey should be the undisputed leader of the Islamic world. And neither Turkey nor Saudi Arabia have the strength to actually become the undisputed leader of the Islamic world. Neither are strong enough. Turkey seeks to expand, Saudi Arabia seeks to expand, and so on and so forth. Now, how did these two bitter rivals, come together? Maybe somebody stronger than them brought them together and forced them into bed together with the Pakistanis, who nobody likes. Now, guess who's the stronger entity? The whole Islamic NATO is being assembled, okay? And I strongly expect, very strongly, very frankly, I expect that more nations are going to join this alliance and have a mutual defense agreement. I think I'm of the opinion that very soon, in the next coming weeks and months, more nations will join this mutual defense pact. Maybe Egypt, maybe Qatar, maybe somebody else. More nations will join. An Islamic NATO is being created where there is no real Islamic leader. because no Islamic nation is strong enough to be the undisputed leader. So who is assembling this coalition? Who? Quite frankly, who is it? Is the United States, obviously. The US is the actual leader of the Islamic world. That's what we are seeing. So, and they've assembled a naval coalition too, a naval alliance of sorts. Nigeria has been brought into it. Nigeria may most likely potentially be a Muslim majority nation by now. If the population is more than 50% Muslim, then Nigeria becomes a Muslim majority nation. And there is that's open for debate, actually. If you ask one source, it will say it's Muslim majority. If you ask another source, it will say Christian majority. So we're not sure because they haven't had a census in Nigeria for a long time. Let's see. When was the last time Nigeria had an official census? 2006. Oh, well, India is 2011, right? It's not that far off. Yeah. Okay, so Nigeria is slightly more laggardly than India. Anyhow, so that's a deal. Okay. Anuradha Kumari says NavIC satellite is ready for launch and 3 more afterwards are already planned. Thoughts? Please launch those satellites. Please launch them yesterday. That's my thoughts. Good, it's ready for launch. So what are we waiting for? Are we going to have a long bureaucratic timetable of the next 24 months or something? Or is it going to happen in the next 3 months? Let's find out. When is the next Indian NavIC satellite scheduled to be launched? When? Awaiting an official launch date. So we don't even have launch dates. I hope they have addressed the issue, the PSLV issue. Multiple PSLV launches failed, which is unheard of. The PSLV is one of the world's most reliable rockets. How come 2 or 3 of these? How many failed? Okay, let's find out. How many PSLV launches have failed in recent times, in the last 24 months? 2 failed launches. Both incidents occurred consecutively. And you had an anomaly in the operation of the 3rd stage. So you had 2 consecutive launches. January and May. And now we're in August. Well, I hope, and before that it had 59 complete successes. Well, I hope this issue has been fixed or is in the process of being fixed. If there was anything untoward, I hope that untoward thing has been addressed and neutralized. And then we launch NavIC. So I hope this happens at the earliest. Right? Because right now India is suffering from this issue. Without NavIC, you don't have eyes in the sky. Without NavIC, you have to depend on GPS. So without NavIC, you have to depend on either the US or Russia or China. Why should India depend on anyone? Russia most likely is a reliable partner. Historically, we have known that they have been reliable. But we should have our own systems, right? Global positioning systems, satellite positioning systems. So I hope this happens at the earliest. Anyway, I'm glad the satellites are ready. The satellites were never the problem. The satellites were a problem too. Yeah. We had imported atomic clocks that failed. So the satellites were also a problem. And the rocket also ended up being a problem. I hope these problems are resolved at the earliest and we have a fully functional local constellation once again. The NavIC constellation is a local one. It provides services in the subcontinent plus area, not a global service. Anyway, at least even that is good. So let's have it at the earliest. That's my views about this. Manhattan says, if aliens decide to show up in the sky of all countries very openly and threaten us, yes. Will all countries come together and fight for the survival of humanity? By the way, what will you do? Most countries don't have the capability to fight the United States. Forget about aliens, right? Let's say the United States hypothetically shows up at Madagascar's door tomorrow morning. What will Madagascar do? What can Madagascar do? Nothing, right? What can it do? What if the US decides tomorrow we will turn up on Papua New Guinea's doorstep with warships. What can Papua New Guinea do? Nothing. I can give you more examples of more nations, but let me not go further. The point is, most nations can't even fight for their survival against the US. Venezuela is an example. What could Venezuela do? So, so if aliens decide to show up and open us and openly threaten us, like you say, most countries can't do a thing. What will they do? Throw sticks and stones, arrows, Kalashnikovs, AK-47s? What can you do? If aliens turn up, they will have come from several light years away. The technology they will have in order to achieve that is going to be orders of magnitude ahead of anything we have, including the secret technology that the US and other nations may have. So if aliens reach here, what is the worst we can do to them? We can launch all the nukes that we have at them. I don't think nukes are going to be any problem for the aliens. So if aliens turn up, it's done deal. Nobody can fight. What will I do? I don't know. I'll live stream it, I suppose. What can I do? What can I do? All right. Okay. Any other questions before I get into the super chats? Let me see. Right. Let us see. Okay. Safed Booth says, ask Abhijit, will an attack on Pakistan be considered as an attack on Saudi and Turkey? If we respond to the terror attack, what will the US do? Well, that's precisely the questions I have raised in today's short that I put out today. So the agreement they've signed is a mutual defense pact, mutual defense agreement. We don't have the text of the agreement, but we have the text of the press release. I don't know where it is. I will not open it and go and search for it right now. But it says that an attack on one of these three is going to be considered to be an attack on all three. Okay. So this means, so let's consider a hypothetical scenario. We know that Pakistan is a terrorist nation. Their DNA doesn't change, correct? Correct. So in the future, hypothetically, maybe sometime in the future, I hope it never happens, but what if they launch a major terror attack on India? They are capable of doing that. They have done that so many times in the past. And India's doctrine has changed now. A terror attack on the nation is going to be regarded as an act of war, which means we go to war if it's a major terror attack. So let's say Pakistan, hypothetically, in a fictitious scenario, does a major terror attack on India. Then India will respond through military means. So then these people, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, will say that Pakistan has been attacked. So then, according to the agreement that they have, the attack that India will then do in response to Pakistani terrorism on Pakistan will be regarded as an attack on Saudi Arabia and Turkey at the same time. So yeah, according to their agreement, an attack on Pakistan will be considered to be an attack on Turkey and Saudi Arabia. So the question is, what will those two nations do? Now, is Turkey in a position to attack India? No, it doesn't have the capability. What it can do is it can further support Pakistan. See, Turkey is arming Pakistan. It's been arming Pakistan for quite some time. So Turkey can further support Pakistan, further supply more arms or drones or whatever to Pakistan. What can Saudi Arabia do? Saudi Arabia is not a defense manufacturer. It doesn't export weapons or whatever. Its army, I'd rather not pass any judgment or comments about the quality of their army. All Saudi Arabia can do is finance Pakistan, send them money. But technically, they could come to Pakistan's rescue militarily. Practically, they are not capable of doing that. At least Saudi Arabia is not. Turkey is too far. Turkey has a military base in Djibouti and so on. Djibouti, South Sudan, that area, the Horn of Africa. But they can't realistically launch any attack on India. India would wipe their military bases out. If India has the capability of wiping out a military base in the Horn of Africa. India does have the capability. Turkey, so, but the point is that we are seeing the creation of an anti-India bloc. Because see, you have to ask yourself, if Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan come together in a military alliance, who's the target is the question. The obvious answer you will say is Iran. But Iran doesn't give a damn about Turkey, Saudi Arabia, or Pakistan. Iran doesn't even give a damn about the US. Iran doesn't give a damn about the United States and the US nuclear arsenal. So you think they'll be frightened of this alliance of these three ragtag nations? Iran has been very, very, you could say, restrained. The Saudis know that. Even the Turks know that. Iran is capable of doing significant damage to both nations and also to Pakistan. So Iran is not going to be frightened or intimidated by this alliance. The alliance is not really targeted. It's not really aimed at Iran. It's aimed mostly at India. See, who are Washington's principal adversaries in the region and globally today? Obviously, it's Russia, it's China, and now they are treating India as an adversary. And Iran, of course, and North Korea. So India has been clubbed into that group of nations. So this alliance, this new alliance that's been created, which more nations will join, that is primarily an anti-India alliance. Right? So if we respond to a Pakistani terror attack, what will the US do? They will sanction India or whatever. Something like that they will do. They'll say, we will impose 3 million % tariffs on India. Something. Yeah. Okay. See, now the battle lines are being drawn. I don't think India has too much choice left now. India must engage with nations that are either friendly to us or nations that are threatened by Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Which nations are threatened by Turkey and Saudi Arabia? Well, you have Israel, possibly the UAE, you have Cyprus, you have Greece, Armenia, sure, but it's too small. We have to help them. They can't help us. They should also engage with friendly nations like Russia. We should engage with Iran as well. We should even engage with China. So that's where we are. All right. Okay. All right. Now let me get into the super chats. Okay. Varinder Barwa says Scythian couple burial 1000 BC. Sati-like practice. Scythian couple burial. The embracing couple, is that the one? Let me Google this. Let's see. Somewhere in Europe. Scythian couple burial 1000 BC. Scythian couple, eternal embrace. Should I open Reddit? I'm a little. Nope, I'm not opening this. Sorry, I am not going there. Where do we have? Yeah, this one, right? Right, this one. This burial. So it's a male and a female who are embracing, and it looks like the male died first, and the lady. I think there's a speculation that the lady was buried alive with the guy. Clearly, they were related in some way. Maybe they were husband and wife or something. And this was found where exactly? Somewhere in Europe. Scythian. Okay, Ukraine. And yeah, widely shared across social media as an ancient Scythian couple where the wife was entombed alive. Reality, late Bronze Age, 1000 BC or so. Iranian speaking Scythian nomadic culture. Okay, so archaeologists note that such an organic tight posture would be mechanically difficult to arrange via post-mortem rigor mortis. Rigor mortis is not forever, right? Rigor mortis, how long does rigor mortis last? Not more than 24 hours. How long does rigor mortis typically last in hours? I don't think it's more than 24 hours. Okay, 24 to 36 hours, even 72 hours. Yeah. Okay. When does it start? Onset begins 0 to 2 hours. It's possible to have two dead people in that pose if you do it immediately after they pass away. And so there's no proof that the woman was willingly There's no proof. There's no genuine hard evidence that the woman was buried alive. It's speculation that maybe she took poison because she loved the guy so much. She took poison and then she embraced him and died or whatever. And then she was buried with him. That's all speculation. There is no hard evidence that that's what happened. But yeah, there is speculation that maybe she consented to die with him, to take poison and lie down with him and pass away and be buried with him, that sort of thing. So yeah, and if she did this willingly, well, that's her choice, I suppose. Anyway, this happened 3,000 years ago. I don't think there's any actual way of knowing what actually happened. Right? Sati-like practice, well, as long as it is consensual, as long as it is done willingly, you could say it's kind of like that. And that's not such a big surprise to find something once in a while anywhere in the world that's like that. Yeah. Ishan Das says, especially because what? Okay, that's a question first. Okay, how does America benefit from this Islamic NATO? Could another angle be that these countries, Turkey, Saudi, Pakistan, are hedging against America's inability to protect its vassals, which this war has exposed? Especially because it seems like Iran might come out of this as the dominant regional power. By the way, did you have a chance to look at the AI tool I built on top of a channel? I still haven't seen that. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the reminder. I will do that at the earliest. I still haven't. There's so much work. I'm working on all kinds of projects. So, but yes, I will check it out. I saw the email. I haven't looked into it in detail. I'll check it out. Now, about the question, how does the US benefit from all of this, right? How does the US benefit from this Islamic NATO? That's a good question. And the point you're raising is very valid. The point you're raising is genuinely valid because from my perspective, it doesn't seem like Iran may come out of this as the dominant regional power. Iran has come out of this as the dominant regional power. It has absorbed tremendous punishment from the US and Israel, tremendous military punishment, tremendous amount of bombardment, thousands of missiles, God knows how many bombs, and it has given back more than it's taken. It's destroyed most of the American military infrastructure in the region. It's destroyed all the THAAD radars. It has destroyed American military bases. It has destroyed the naval headquarters they had in Bahrain. They've hit every single Gulf nation, and they are nowhere close to running out of drones or missiles. I think they've shown a small fraction of their capabilities. Iran has defeated the United States and Israel and their allies single-handedly, with a little bit of help from its friends, I'm sure. Yeah. So Iran is the regional hegemon now. The United States cannot force Hormuz open. They simply can't. They simply can't. How will they do it? Will they send an aircraft carrier in the region? What happens if the United States sends an aircraft carrier there? It's going to be wiped out. So Iran has come out of this as the dominant regional power. So then the question arises, how does the US benefit from an Islamic NATO? And could it be that these countries are hedging against America's inability to protect its vassals? You know what? I don't think they're hedging against this inability. Understand that Turkey and Saudi Arabia, both of these nations have American military personnel and equipment and weapons on their territory. Turkey hosts American nuclear weapons in the Incirlik base. FYI, Incirlik. American nuclear weapons on Turkish soil, but operated by Americans. The Turks never get to see the weapons. The Turks never get to see the warheads. Turkey is a member of NATO. Turkey has its own ambitions and all, but overall Turkey is very much beholden to the US. If the US wants, they can make Turkey disintegrate. If the US wants, they can end the career of Erdogan. If the US wants, they can do the same thing to Saudi Arabia. Because the Saudi regime is a dictatorship, it's a monarchy that does not depend on local support for its existence. It depends on US guarantees for its existence. Okay? So both Turkey and Saudi Arabia are beholden to the US. They can't do without the US. the Saudi monarchy will collapse the day the US decides to withdraw its protection from the family and from the monarchy. Sure, Saudi Arabia had to take hits from Iran, and the US may not have done everything in its capability to protect the Saudis and everyone else apart from Israel. Maybe the US tried, perhaps. Okay, the US, see, when it comes to protecting its vassals in West Asia, the US will always give first priority to Israel. That is a given. The second priority may go to Saudi Arabia. The fact is that the US was unable to defend even Israel. Israel took humongous punishment from Iran. If you, like 2-3 days after the war started, Twitter and all social media started banning, they started censoring all the videos coming out of Israel. That's why we don't really know the extent of damage that happened in Israel. It was extensive, massive damage in Israel. So the US may have tried to safeguard Saudi interests and all, but they simply were not capable of doing that. That's why I say that the US has been defeated by Iran. So now that my point is that I don't think these nations are hedging against America's inability to protect the vassals. If let's say they hedge against America's inability to protect the vassals and they band together, the US gets upset and it withdraws all its protection, all three will collapse. All three will collapse. Yeah. So it's not that. My view is that the US is artificially bringing all these nations together into an artificial bloc, an Islamic NATO. That's what the US is creating. So there's going to be, in my view, more nations are going to join this mutual defense agreement, just like you have a whole bunch of nations that eventually joined NATO over the decades. The same thing is going to happen in weeks and months over here. I'm making a prediction right here. Let's see if I turn out to be right or if I'm completely proven wrong. I believe in the coming weeks and months, more nations will join this bloc, this mutual defense pact. I'm saying it right now. I'm putting my neck out. And none of these nations is strong enough to be the leader of the Islamic world. So my perspective, my view is that the US is from behind the scenes orchestrating all of this. I said it when Saudi Arabia and Turkey signed a mutual defense agreement. I said the US is behind this. Now Turkey has joined it. I am still saying the US is behind it. They also have created an Islamic naval alliance. The navies of various Islamic countries will come together and essentially target Yemen and the Houthis and whoever else in the Horn of Africa is anti-US. They'll all be targeted. All of this serves US interests. The Saudis can't say no to the US. The Turks can't say no to the US. Pakistan will do anything to polish the boots of the US. Okay? So how does the US benefit from this? It benefits by having a massive alliance of ragtag nations who come together and serve its interests. So who are the US's adversaries in the region? One is Iran. Now the US is treating India as an adversary. The US is encircling India. East Pakistan, West Pakistan regime changes, Nepal, the thing that's happened. The US is creating a ring around India. And if you have an Islamic NATO, that bolsters that. So and of course, you can also make this Islamic NATO work against Russia and even China if required. But the primary target at this point in time is India. That's how I see it. Now let's see. Time will tell us whether I have been right, whether I'm right in what I'm saying, or if I'm going to be proven completely wrong. My view, if I am right, in the coming weeks and months, more nations will join this Islamic NATO. Mark my words. If I turn out to be wrong by the end of the year, please point it out in the comments. If I'm right, remember I said this first. Nobody else did. All right. Okay. Chirag Chirag says, a Bangalore-based startup, Astrobase, has unveiled India's first indigenous 800 kilonewton 80-ton FFSC rocket engine. How do you see this? Is it India's first indigenous FFSC rocket engine? It's a multiple stage combustion engine. What is the full form of FFSC? Staged combustion, right? FFSC rocket engine full form. Staged combustion, full flow staged combustion. Okay, so as far as I understand, we have indigenous FFSC rocket engines. ISRO has developed at least a couple of cryogenic rocket engines that are staged combustion engines. Okay. Let's just check whether I'm right or whether I'm completely wrong. Staged combustion cycle, FFSC engines. Do we have any application? The present application. Do we have examples? Okay, let's just search for India. Okay, what is the SC? Yeah, that's the one, right? SC 200. That's FFSC engine that's being developed to power ISRO's LVM-3 rocket. Okay, and you have the C 7.5, which is already developed. It's already in use by India. So ISRO has already developed staged combustion rocket engines, pretty powerful ones. Yeah, but this is, I think, the first private staged combustion engine that India has developed indigenously. So it's a private company that has developed this one, Astrobase. What's my view about this? My view is that this is fantastic, outstanding, brilliant. I think the Europeans, has any European private company developed a staged combustion rocket engine? Yes. Okay. So the Germans have done that. Hot fired the Helix staged combustion cycle rocket engine. So there's one. Ariane Group is not private, man. That's massively state funded. Anyhow, so Germany has done that. Has any Chinese? Let's see, Chinese. Have the Chinese done it? Yes, Chinese have also done it. Okay, so Americans, I'll not even ask. I'm sure they've done it. I mean, SpaceX is a private company. I'm sure they have it. Okay, so overall, good by India. Good. My view is that this is excellent. Good job. Great progress. Keep going. Okay, Kumar Kanishka says China has become the second country to successfully land the first stage of a rocket back. The same SpaceX tech of reusable rocket. How do I see this? What China has done is even better than SpaceX. SpaceX tried multiple times and failed a few times before it was able to succeed in having a booster return to Earth and be caught successfully. And China seems to have done it on its first attempt. And China has used a better way of catching the rocket booster. Instead of using those two little chopsticks that SpaceX uses, or those spindly legs that the rocket boosters land on, they've used a system of pulleys and ropes, which is a far better way of doing it. So I think China has done a fantastic job. I would say congratulations, China. Fantastic. My question is, why isn't India even thinking of doing this? I'm sure our engineers are thinking of doing it, but where's the funds for that? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, good for China. I think it's fantastic. It's a great achievement. Okay, Kakashi says, why UN Kanwal? Are you talking about Ambassador Kanwal Sibal? Is that who you're talking about? Okay, let's see. Why UN Ambassador Kanwal Sibal say explore options like Greece? Has he also said this? Why UN Kanwal Sibal say explore options with Greece, Cyprus, Israel, UAE? Yeah. I also said Russia, Iran, even China, I said. So why UN Kanwal Sibal say explore options with these countries against Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey? They are US vassals too. How would this work? Iran and China understand. It's a good question. Israel is not a US vassal, by the way. Israel is nobody's vassal. Israel is a fully sovereign country, by the way. Okay? So I disagree. Israel is not a vassal of anyone. UAE doesn't have good relations with Saudi Arabia. There's a Saudi-UAE rivalry. Now, let's say hypothetically both are US vassals, as is very possible. Okay? But UAE is also very close to Israel, and that may give them an exception. Their relationship with Israel may perhaps outweigh the relationship they have with the US. Okay, so that's why that's why the UAE is a special case over here. The UAE even left OPEC. They quit OPEC recently. Now they will sell oil as per what suits them best, instead of being held hostage by the OPEC cartel as to how much oil you're allowed to sell. Now the UAE can sell as much as it wants. And the UAE also has a special arrangement with India. In Karnataka, we have a couple of rock caverns where we are storing oil that belongs to ADNOC, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. You go to Abu Dhabi, there's a massive white building, ADNOC, okay, near the marina. It's Abu Dhabi's national oil company, massive producer of oil. So we are storing the UAE's oil reserves in India, and those belong to the UAE. The UAE will sell them and do whatever it wants with them. But in certain conditions and scenarios, like emergency scenarios, India has the contractual right to use that oil. So we have a special relationship with the UAE. Okay, there are other aspects too. My point is, take this as an illustration. When it comes to Greece, India and Greece have a special military relationship. Okay, let's see. I think India and Greece resumed a military alliance after 2,300 something years. Right? Let's see. India and Greece resume a military alliance after more than 2,000 years. Where do we find it? India-Greece relations. Everyone copies what I have to say, right? India and Greece resume defense ties after 2,327 years. And that, obviously, you will see my face there, because I am the one who ran the story 2 years ago. And of course, then, 2327 years. Right. So the point is, India and Greece signed a defense industrial cooperation agreement in 2026 February, and before that we signed. So that happened in 2026, right? Just a few months ago. So India and Greece have our own separate arrangement, separate from the US. And you see, Greece, I agree, it's US vassal. So is Cyprus. But both are threatened by Turkey, and the US does nothing about that. And Greece is not some ragtag, second-rate vassal. Greece is regarded as the birthplace of so-called Western civilization. So Greece is an ancient entity, like genuinely ancient, the most ancient European entity, you could say. It's actually in the crossroads between East and West, but okay. So Greece is culturally the highest of the Western nations, okay? And the Greeks aren't very pleased about being anyone's vassals. They have had to suffer from vassalhood and foreign occupation for centuries, and they don't appreciate this. So if the older civilization India comes and offers a hand of friendship, they'll very much appreciate that. And Cyprus is Greek, by the way. Cyprus is another, northern Cyprus is under Turkish occupation. So that's why my point is, we should explore options with Greece and Cyprus, Israel, UAE. Makes sense. Also Iran, please, Iran as well. Of course, Russia. Even China, I would say. Even China. Let's explore options. That's my point. All right. Piyush Sinha says, Safed Booth 67 said, India needs a presidential system and not a prime minister. My question is, who will change this? Who has power? Can the prime minister change the system? What are the limitations prime ministers have that presidents don't? What limitations do prime ministers have that presidents don't? If you look at the US system and compare with the Indian system, The United States president does not have to go and sit in parliament or the Senate or the House and engage in debates and arguments and participate in the formulation of new legislation or change of old legislation. The president governs, he rules, he leads, he executes. So there is complete separation of powers between the executive and the legislative in the US. In India, executive, legislative are at the same place. They overlap. Why? Why does the prime minister have to waste his time sitting in parliament and arguing and debating about legislation? Right? So that's one issue. Okay, that's one issue. Second issue, prime ministers are not elected directly by people. People can only vote for their local representatives. And the local representatives then will go back to their party and the party will decide who becomes prime minister. How is that correct? Why can't the people elect their leader directly? Why are Indians not allowed to do that? What sort of system is this? That's another limitation. Thirdly, if there is a hung parliament or a coalition government, the prime minister is weak and ineffective. Have you not seen past history, the past 30 years? Why do you want such an inferior system? Why? Can't you see this? Do I have to point these simple things out? Really? It's so frustrating that people don't understand this. Now, who can change the system? You're going to have to change the constitution of India. Who can do it? I have no idea who can do it. My point is, India needs a better system. India has adopted the worst possible system for itself because the guys, because the gentlemen and the ladies, there must have been some ladies who chose to adopt this sort of constitution in the 1940s and 50s. They decided to just copy what the British had, the system the British had, because the British are the best, right? We should copy their system. Yes, sir, we will copy your system. We will not think beyond what you do. Could you not start with a blank slate? Could you not start afresh and adopt the best possible system that's relevant to a massive subcontinent-sized country? No. We will adopt the system that a small island in the Atlantic has. So the Westminster-style democratic system that we have, the parliamentary system, is the worst suited system for India. We need a better system. A much better option is the presidential form of government. And I would say you should have term limits. You should have presidential terms that are of 10 years instead of 5. Because that way you have more stability. So who can change the system? Somebody with fortitude. Yeah, fortitude, strength. You need one leader who can push this through the strength of his or her will. It's possible, but you will need somebody of incredible strength of character and fortitude. I'm sure a prime minister can make this happen. Whether a leader is a prime minister or not even elected, if the leader has the fortitude, it's possible. The question is, who's going to be that leader? That's the question. Kumar Kanishka says, 21st century king like Elon talk about colonizing Mars and populating it. Isn't this a very Western thing? First screw up the earth and then leave and screw up Mars. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. See, the logic that he gives us for occupying and colonizing Mars is that we have to make humanity a multi-planetary species in case something goes wrong on one of the planets. So something, let's say, something terrible happens on Earth, then we should have a backup plan. Let's say Mars, right? That's the point he is making. Well, overall, it makes sense, but why do you want to mess up the planet? That's my question. Right? Develop planetary defense against, asteroids and comets. That should be enough. And then don't mess up the planet that we have. This is our home. It's okay to go to Mars and settle down there and so move beyond the solar system also if you can. I have nothing against that. But why do we want to mess up our planet? Eventually, they're going to mess up the moon first. Okay? Your children are most likely going to look at the moon in the night and they'll see lights on the moon. Industrial lights. That's going to happen. So that's the thing, yeah. It's a very Western thing to do, yes. Exploit every resource. Treat nature as a resource and exploit it. And once you've exploited enough, move on and go and exploit something else. Yeah, that's the thing. Yes. Hyphen says, why is there more matter than antimatter in the universe if the Big Bang should have created almost equal amounts of both? Well, theoretically, the Big Bang should have produced equal amounts of matter and antimatter. So why do we have this? I mean, wherever we look, it's mostly matter. There's very little antimatter anywhere. Sometimes you do encounter antiprotons in the cosmic ray antiprotons. You do encounter them once in a while. Yeah. What produces that? There are multiple mechanisms, at least a couple I can think of. One is obviously Hawking radiation. And so the point is, there's very little antimatter in the universe. You can produce antimatter in particle colliders, but that too is so little. So why is this the case? I mean, isn't nature symmetric? Right? Even Hawking radiation should produce equal amounts of matter and antimatter. Hawking radiation comes from the evaporation of black holes. And it's purely black body radiation, completely democratic, let's say, completely black body, completely random. So why is this the case? So we don't have the answer to it, but we have certain theoretical speculations. One possibility is that maybe the Big Bang spawned two universes at the same time. A universe and an anti-universe. And both came out of the Big Bang and both are not connected. Or maybe both are connected somewhere, but we don't know where. So if that was the case, and in one universe you had matter dominate, and in the other universe you had antimatter predominate, then that would answer the question. So that's one possibility, but we don't have the answer to this question. Right? We don't have the answer to this question. Baryon asymmetry. Why? So it's possible. These are possibilities, but how do we test whether these theories are right or not? There's no way of doing it. Okay, Kakashi says, I know Indian nationalism is different from Western nationalism, but is nationalism enough? Nationalism and growth for whom? The society, elites, and deep state only. Okay, so Indian nationalism is different from Western nationalism, but is nationalism enough? Nationalism and growth for whom? The society, elites, and deep state only. No, look, I don't know, this nationalism, this patriotism, and there's supposedly some difference between these two terms, and this is semantic difference, and I don't know what it is. Growth is supposed to be for everybody, for the nation, for every person in the nation, not for some so-called elites. No, of course not. Growth is supposed to be for everybody. You can't make everybody equal, by the way, if that's what you are asking me. Are you saying everybody should be equal on the same level? It's impossible. But you can give everybody the same starting point, and you can give everybody a safety net. And then it's up to you how good you are or how not so good you are. The rest should be on merit. So you're going to have inequality in society. You have inequality in nature, by the way. You can't make everybody equal. Otherwise, people will give up. If you make everybody equal forcibly, then you guarantee equality of outcomes, no matter how good or bad you are, people will just stop trying and the nation will become mediocre. So you can't have equality. You should have growth. So what you should have is give everybody the same starting point in life. Give everybody the same rules. The same rules should apply for everybody. And everybody should have a safety net. If there is misfortune in life, if things don't go well, then you know what? It should be taken care of by society. Right? There should be a safety net. And apart from that, the sky should be the limit for everybody. So you're going to have inequality. That's fine. That's fine. So you're going to have unequal progress for people. Some will progress very much, some will progress less. But the ones who progress more will create jobs for the others and so on. So they will anyway end up serving society. So overall, if you have a good system, there is growth for everybody. And me, am I a nationalist? I am a civilizationalist. That's what I am. Now, I think you've asked a follow-up question. I am no Marxist, but he is right. There are competing classes. Who is right? He is right. Who is right? But okay, somebody is right. There are competing classes, interests within it. Of course there are. Of course there are. What do you expect? That's the case in every nation. That's been the case in every kingdom, every empire, every civilization historically. What are you seeking? Are you trying to? Do you seek a utopia where everybody is the same? There's no classes. There's no competing interests. Come on. My point is the competition should follow rules. The rules should be the same for everybody. There should be no discrimination, and there should be a safety net for everyone. Beyond that, let the sky be the limit for everyone. So no unfair play, right? Rules should not be rigged in favor of certain classes or certain interests or whatever. That's my point. So what you're saying at the end, good nationalism should take all sections, not just rulers and few. I agree. Of course. The rules should be the same for everybody in society, in your country. Everybody. There should be no discrimination. There should be no secret rigged rules. There should be no secret favoritism for certain classes or certain sections of society or certain whoever, elites like you say. No. You should have a fair, just society with the same rules for everyone. But look, you're going to have competition in society. You're going to have competing interests. You can't do away with that. It's impossible. It's fine to have competing classes, competing interests. That is just natural. That's just organic. But give everybody, each competing interest, give them the same rules that they have to follow. Make the system fair and transparent and honest and meritorious. And then let the competing classes and interests compete among each other. It's fine. Okay. Right. Piyush G says, Pakistan signed a security pact with Somalia and Israel has a footprint in Somaliland. If both Pakistan and Israel are on the same side on hitting Iran, then why sign deals with opposing sides? Has the US done it? Has Pakistan signed a security pact with Somalia? Let's see. Has Pakistan signed a security pact with Somalia? Oh, is very nice. Yes. Pakistan and Somalia signed a bilateral defense cooperation agreement in Islamabad on August 4. Somali Defense Minister Ahmed Moalim Fiki and Khawaja Mohammed Asif of Pakistan. Okay, very interesting. So, Israel has a footprint in Somaliland. Excuse me. So, Somalia and Somaliland are different entities, by the way. Let's find out. Excuse me. Are Somalia and Somaliland different entities? If yes, are they on good terms with each other? Somalia and Somaliland are distinct entities in practice, and they are not on such good terms. Okay, so if Israel has a footprint, like you say, in Somaliland, then it means that it is on good terms with Somaliland and not such good terms with Somalia. So Pakistan signing a deal with Somalia, which is not on good terms with Somaliland, which means it is not on good terms with Israel, that kind of balances the equation out. And it shows you that the world is the way you think it is, that Pakistan and Israel are on opposite sides. Okay. Yes. Now, if Pakistan and Israel are on the same side on hitting Iran, why sign deals with opposing sides? To keep up appearances. Sign a deal. You don't do anything against each other. Sign deals. That's fine. Let the world keep on imagining things are all good and normal and whatever. Everything is business as usual. Pakistan signed with Somalia. Israel signed with Somaliland. Oh, the world is just fine. Yes, the world is the way it should be. You don't bring things out in the open, things that are supposed to be secret. Okay. Has the US done it? Maybe. Somalia isn't that important geopolitically compared to something like Saudi Arabia or Israel. Okay. Fast Snail says it's rumored that Palantir was the reason. It's rumored that Palantir was the reason for school destruction in Iran. If true, is AI being used in battlegrounds for testing models? Should this stop? I will not address rumors. I can't. I should not. Rumors are speculation. So I better not address rumors. But the point is, the question is, what I've heard is that one of the major American frontier model companies was involved in the selection of targets during the war on Iran. Now, was Palantir running that company's model in its software? I'm not sure, but I know that one of the frontier companies in the US, Anthropic, was most likely involved. Now let's fact check this. Is it true? Did the US military use Anthropic models to select targets during the war against Iran? To select military targets. Military. Yes, reports indicate that, yeah. So reports do indicate that that's what happened. And that was integrated into defense software like Palantir's Maven Smart system. Okay, so Google's AI is telling us that. So in that case, I suppose we can speak about it. It's not speculation. Right. So AI is not being used in battlegrounds for testing models. Tested models are being used on the battleground. The battleground is where everything has to be tested and ready. When you have a live war going on, you don't use a live war for testing unproven technology. You never do that. So they would have used well tested and trained models for selecting targets. They would have used the best model that Anthropic had to provide for selecting targets and so on. And that model was integrated into Palantir's Maven system. So AI is not being used for testing models. It's not being used in battlegrounds for that. But of course, the models will, the data that Anthropic gets from this will be used to improve the models. No question about it. Should this stop? Who are we to say something should stop or not? Can we stop it? We can't. So the question is moot. The question is beside the point. Somalia Paul says, isn't this a pre-World War III Cold War? Two global structures are fighting, West plus Ukraine versus Russia plus North Korea. As news said, North Korea was providing missiles and soldiers to Russia, and US, Israel, Gulf versus Iran's axis of resistance. You're seeing a gradual bifurcation of the global order. Before COVID, before the Ukraine war, you had a single global order. China was integrated into it. North Korea was not, but North Korea was taken care of by China. Iran was obviously under sanctions. So you already had the beginnings of the system of the split that we have today. You had an axis sort of thing. You had China, which was aligned with North Korea and Iran, and to some extent Russia. And Russia was aligned with Iran and with Syria, which is no longer in the picture, and so on. So you had these countries that had loose coalition kind of thing. Then you had the Ukraine war, which brought China and Russia together. Russia kind of is increasingly becoming a junior partner of China. So it's West. The West is US led it's US owned. So it's US plus its Western minions, plus its great ally, the Israelis, plus Gulf and Ukraine. That's one side. And the other side, you have China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. And then you have nations that are nowhere, neither here nor there. India is one of those. India is a major power in its own right. India is not aligned here or there. And that's why the Americans are treating India as an adversary now. because India is refusing to vassalize itself. So you are seeing this situation. You're seeing a global bifurcation of the world order into two parallel systems gradually and slowly. It all started in the 2010s, the late 2010s, the US trade war on China, the CHIPS Act, and so on. And now it's a full-blown Cold War, isn't it? But is it a pre-World War III Cold War? I hope not. So the 20th century also saw a Cold War, which ended without a World War. The second century's Cold War, the first Cold War, began in the aftermath of the end of the Second World War. And it ended in 1990-91 without any Third World War. So I'm hoping that there will be no Third World War. It is certainly a Cold War. This is the second Cold War that we are seeing. Piyush G says, was Arab Spring a result of the stock market crash in 2008 in America? Like, are both these events connected in any way? Analyze it, please. I don't know about that. The Arab Spring was spring cleaning of the regimes in the Arab countries. They had been around for too long, and it was time for new leadership to take over. But those countries were supposed to obviously continue to remain American vassals. But the US said, okay, it's time to bring in new leadership in these nations, but they must remain our vassals. So that's what happened. Spring cleaning. Fake revolutions, engineered revolutions. Was it connected with the stock market crash? Well, I don't know. I haven't really made the connection. Is it possible? Well, it did coincide with that. The Arab Spring started in what? 2008, 2009, 2010? Around 2010. Let's see. When did the Arab Spring begin? 2010, right? A couple of years ago. A couple of years after the stock market crash. So is it connected? I'm not sure about that. But yeah, it kind of took off and expanded in scope geographically. Piyush G says, Safed Booth asked, how much US military bases have been destroyed in the Middle East overall? Rough figure out of 100%. By the way, can we see destroyed bases through satellite images? Well, if you ask American analysts, they will say 0% have been destroyed. They're all there. They're all there. That's what American analysts and Western analysts will say. Can we see the destroyed bases through satellite images? Let's try and do that. Yeah, let's try. My prediction is we will see no destruction, because these will be old images. See, Google Earth and Google Maps satellite imagery is not updated on a daily basis, maybe not even on a monthly basis. Sometimes they keep certain parts, certain maps very old. So I don't think we're going to see anything here. Let's see with Bahrain, Manama. North of Manama, where the 5th Fleet base. Let's see. Naval Headquarters, Bahama. Naval Headquarters, Manama. Okay, is this the one? Is this the UMOC? What's UMOC? Sounds very American. Looked impressive, but it turned out all you needed was a few 30,000 drones to blow it up. So as you can see, something has happened there. So this seems to have been the American headquarters. Yeah. You can see this is not a warship, but this one is. This one is. You have multiple warships here, as you can see. Okay, they are being refitted or whatever. You have more warships here, as you can see. Larger ones, smaller ones, and so on. Do we see any submarines? These are clearly older images. These are not latest images. So the US has had a massive base here, naval base. And you won't be able to find the latest images here. They won't update these images for a very long time. They won't. So I will not go and now search for, American bases in other countries in the Gulf region. That's going to be, first of all, we will not find what we're looking for. We will not find the latest images. Of course, if you are willing to pay for it, you can get commercial satellite imagery. Uh, yeah, I don't subscribe to that. I have not paid for commercial satellite imagery, so I won't be able to share that. But if you ask me what is the rough figure of how out of 100, I would say at least 50%, if I would say probably 80-90% of American military bases have been destroyed, most likely. Yeah. If you can get your hands on commercial satellite imagery, you may be able to find the truth. But if that was available, why has it not flooded the internet? Maybe they're not putting it out. I don't know what the reason is. Okay. Fast Snail says White House accuses China of using AI distillation to bio their models. Bio. Why can't India do the same? No, India never does naughty things. India is a rule-abiding country. We are a law-abiding country. We don't do such things. Yeah. Why can't India do the same? It's a great way to develop models, not starting from scratch. So if you want to develop a frontier model, you need at the very minimum, 1 lakh GPUs, high quality GPUs, okay, high end GPUs, at least 100,000 of them. The more the merrier, but at least 100,000. You need world class engineers, a team of engineers. You need a tremendous amount of data, high quality data, not scraped garbage, not spam. You need high quality data, and you can acquire that if you don't know how to. No problems. So you need the GPUs, you need high quality world-class engineers, you need the data, tremendous quantities of data, and you need at least 6 months. At least. And you need a tremendous amount of electricity and cooling for your GPUs. And you need a big location to store your GPUs and racks and whatnot. Okay? So it's extremely costly. It's going to cost you at least $1 billion to make a world-class frontier model, at least $1 billion. But if you distill a model, you have to pay API fees and all that. For a few $1,000s, you can get an almost world-class smaller model. Yeah. So you're right. The White House accuses China of using AI distillation to build their models. I'm sure the Chinese do it. I'm sure the Americans also do it. And some of the frontier model companies, they distill their own biggest models, most capable models into less capable ones, but still good enough ones. Right? So what is distillation? It's like the Guru Shishya Parampara. The Guru teaches the Shishya, the student gains a smaller subset of knowledge, but it's still good enough for a lot of users. That sort of thing. Why can't India do the same? I have no idea. Why can't India do the same? India should do the same. Of course, now the Americans have found out that this is what many people do, many countries do. So they've put measures in place to prevent this from happening. If too many requests are coming in too quickly through the API pipeline, they're going to block you. They're going to kill your account or whatever. So you have to be smart about it. There are ways and means of doing what is required. I'm saying, look, first of all, I'm not suggesting you break any law or whatever, but whatever is legal, do it. So I don't know why. I don't know. Okay, Piyush says Quantum Skies 19 wants to convey his gratitude to you. He said, started watching your video during undergrad, motivated, pursued research in robotics, now at NTU Singapore, pursuing masters in robotics. Fantastic. I'm so glad. So you started watching my videos during undergrad. I motivated you. You pursued research in robotics. That's a fantastic field. We need Indians in robotics. Now you're at National Technology University, Singapore, NTU. Is that what the full form is? NTU. Whoopsie daisy. What happened here? NTU Singapore. What's the full form of NTU? NTU Singapore. Okay, it's Nanyang Technological University. Fantastic. And you are pursuing masters in robotics. I am so happy to hear this. Fantastic. Quantum Skies 19. I'm very pleased, very glad to hear this. You are very welcome. I'm glad that I was able to motivate you, which is a very small thing to do, by the way. Okay, whatever you've achieved is through your own hard work and your dedication. So, congratulations! It's fantastic. Keep going and do well. Succeed in whatever your aims are. All the best. All the best. Kakashi says UK loves Hindu Muslim divide in subcontinent. India should integrate, unite all sections, classes towards national interest like Russia and end extremism, terror, radicalization. I agree with you. I agree that India should unite everybody. Yeah, absolutely. India should integrate and unite everybody together towards the national interest. Russia is an example of how you of a successful implementation of what you are saying. And India should end whatever extremism, radicalization, etc., that you are referring to over here. I completely agree with that. I do. Yes, sir. Sanatani says, if AI replaces 90% of jobs in the near future, what happens to humanity? In an interconnected economy, jobless citizens cannot support businesses or provide tax revenue to governments. As this economic circle breaks, are we scripting our own destruction? See, we aren't scripting our destruction. India is not producing any frontier models. India is not doing that. It's the Americans are doing it, and the Chinese are catching up. They've almost caught up. India is not participating in the AI race. We have one good company, that is Sarvam, and I think they're doing fantastic work. But they don't have frontier models as yet, right? They don't. They have good models. I hear that they have fantastic voice models and so on. So I think Sarvam is doing good work, but it's not yet at the frontier model level. So what's happening? All the frontier development is being done in the US and in China. India is not really there yet. So we are not scripting our own destruction. The US will take care of its citizens when it reaches to what you're talking about. When, let's say, you are in a situation where 90% of jobs are taken by AI, the US will plan and prepare for that. Right? They'll be able to, let's say, give their citizens universal basic income or whatever it is. Trump and Elon Musk, and Trump maybe not. Trump will soon leave office, but Elon Musk and whoever else, all these people, Anthropic guys and the OpenAI guys and Grok and so on, they will figure out a way to keep the population going. Give everybody universal basic income. You get $4,000, $5,000 a month in your bank account. No more taxes to pay, or maybe pay taxes, whatever. And you get free Netflix or whatever it is. So people are happy. All good. But what will India do about this? China will also take care of its citizens. The question is, what will India do about this? Has the government thought that far ahead? I don't know. I hope they have. What happens in India? So in a country where the government isn't able to anticipate this, isn't able to plan for this, the future may happen before the country is ready for the future. So let's say you have a country like India that depends on IT services exports. And in the next 2 years, hypothetically, that completely dries out. Then what does India do? Then the entire IT sector crashes. It's a very possible reality, by the way. Okay. The IT companies in India, why aren't they investing in AI and creating their own frontier models, working on that? I know it's not as easy as I make it sound by just saying it. Karo na, kal ho jayega. It's not like that. You put in a lot of hard work, but they have the manpower, they have the talent, they have the resources. The only resource they lack is probably the GPUs. Acquire them, right? Do something, do whatever. So if the future arrives before you're ready, not before you're ready for it, there's going to be chaos in the country. There's going to be chaos. Potentially. So you're right. If jobs are gone, jobless citizens won't be able to support businesses. They won't be able to provide tax revenue to the governments. The government will anyway extract its tax one way or the other. If you no longer have an income, they can't charge income tax, but they anyway take GST and God knows so many things. They put taxes on petrol, whether you realize or not. Right? They put taxes on everything. So they will anyway keep on collecting taxes indirectly. But what happens to the citizens? So I hope the government of India is planning for this, because this is coming. Yeah. And it's not India that's scripting its destruction by developing AI. But India, if it does not plan for this, will anyway script its destruction. Yeah. Somalia Paul says, one, Houthis control about 40% landmass in Yemen. Why didn't Saudi Arabia let them have their own nation? You told countries don't share nuclear technology with each other. That's why they will not Iran. But why in Cold War Russia given to North Korea? What evidence do we have that Russia provided nuclear weapons technology to North Korea? What evidence do we have? Some Western claims. Let me see if these are Western claims. Does any evidence exist that Russia provided nuclear weapons technology to North Korea? Recent intelligence reports and official assessments. Okay. Hard, unambiguous evidence not classified hearsay. No, there we have it. Look. See how quickly it completely reversed its stand? Completely reversed its answer. Look at this. See this? Here it is yes, and here it is no. See? Yes, no. Yes, no. So if you don't ask the right question, it's going to lie to you. All right. There is no evidence, no hard, unambiguous public evidence. Nothing. So how do we know that? So on what basis do you say, or on what basis do you believe for yourself that Russia gave nuclear weapons to North Korea? What makes you believe that? Look what it says. My point is exactly this. There is no such evidence. There is hearsay. Classified hearsay. Look at this. That's classified hearsay. That's how they fool the public. Oh, intelligence agencies have classified information that this happened. And you cannot believe that BS? Really? Please don't. Please don't. Right? There's no evidence any such thing happened. About Houthis and all that. Houthis control about 40% landmass. And why didn't Saudi Arabia let them have their own nation? Because Houthis are Shia. Let me fact check that. Are the Houthis predominantly Shia or Sunni? There we have it. That's your answer. That's your answer. The Saudis are Sunnis. The Houthis are Shia. The Houthis are aligned with Iran. The Iranians are also Shia. That's your answer. Okay. WBR says, check out the Buryat song Zugmara by Medigma Dorjieva. Who is this lady and what song did she sing? Okay, Zugmara, Medigma Dorjieva. Zugrama. No. Okay, I shall check it out. I shall. I can't play it over here because I'll get a copyright strike. But I will check it out. Thank you for the recommendation. Indeed. Okay, Kakashi says, 1 out of 2. Glad India finally takes nationalism, national interest, religion, civilization more seriously. But education, health, infrastructure, technology, housing, transport, sanitation, wealth, income inequality, equality, happiness, quality of life, living standards, safety, justice, gender well-being, leisure, freedom, all matters too. Have you heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Look here. All right. At the very basic level, what do human beings need? Breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, excretion. That's the very basic physiological needs that human beings have. When those are satisfied, we think of safety, security of body, employment, resources, morality, the family, health, property. When you have all those things, you look for friendship, family, and so on. When you have that, you look for self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, respect, and so on. And when you have all these things, you look for morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, acceptance of facts. My question is, where does India stand in this Maslow's hierarchy of needs? I think physiological needs are taken care of mostly. Safety needs, does everybody have security of employment? Mostly people, I don't think India has a tremendous employment issue. Property, health, most people don't even have property, family. Okay, so let's say safety is taken care of. So I'm not sure where India is. It's probably at number 2 from the bottom. We haven't risen higher. So right now India is focusing on building toilets and electricity and bank accounts and all the base and roads and railways. How many airports does India have? How many functional airports does India have? About 150 to 160 airports, 36 international. How many functional airports does the US have? The US has 13,000 to 16,000 airports. Do you see the gap? Okay, let's see China. China has 365. Oh, not so good, yes. So you see, India is behind. Compared to China, we are about halfway there. So we still have a long way to go. I agree with you that all these things matter. I agree with you. But we are still looking at the very basics. You see, Sun Tzu said that before you go and conquer the world, first ensure that nobody can conquer you. First, plug all the gaps in your defense. Right? And only then should you think of going and conquering the rest of the world or conquering others. So that's what you do when you are beginning, when you're starting off. You first take care of all the very low level basics. That's what India is doing right now. But India has massive resources, tremendous amounts of money at the government's disposal. So I would say that, what, do the basics, but also take care of culture, religion, civilization. Why don't you take care of that in parallel? Education. If you get me started on education, I better not talk about education today. I've spoken about it enough in recent times. Don't get me started on education. So it's so frustrating the government doesn't take these things seriously. It's not concerned about certain things at all. I mean, you have a ministry, the ministry is funding, but what are they doing? So yeah, it's kind of frustrating. Okay. Kakashi says, most whites think India is a Western ally, vassal, subordinate, unlike China. It doesn't sit right with me. It's like they don't respect us and think we are weak. Yeah, most Westerners don't respect India. That's true. They think India is weak, yes. So what should we do about it? Demonstrate we are worthy of respect, not because we care what people think, but because that's the direction in which we anyway have to go. If we want India to be, let's say, a first class nation, world class nation, a nation that can compare favorably with China or whoever else, then we will have to progress. We'll have to take these steps. And those steps will anyway have the effect of making others respect us. Right now, see, India is not a Western ally or subordinate or vassal, but India is weak. Comparatively, relatively weak. See what Iran was able to do. Can India do that? I'm not saying India should do it. Does India have 1 million drones? Does India have 10,000 ballistic missiles? We don't. We're still mired in the 20th century mindset. I think things are changing, definitely. I mean, you have Indian sailors getting killed in Hormuz, off the coast of Oman. And we have to depend on the local coast guard or the local navy, Omani navy, to salvage the body. Indian sailor gets killed in the Black Sea. What do you do? So you see, nobody dares do that to China, right? Or the US. Do US soldiers or sailors, civilians, get killed somewhere? No. So if we want the world to respect us, we have to develop hard power, not soft power, not influence. Hard power. Hard power is what scares people. You want respect? Respect comes from fear, geopolitically. So until India develops the hard power, the 300 plus ship and submarine strong navy, until we have a few million drones and a few tens of thousands of ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, people won't respect us. We have to demonstrate we have the hard power. We have to demonstrate we're willing to use it if required for our national interest. Do a couple of demonstrations. Everybody will come in line, stand in line. That's what needs to happen. But I'm not saying India should go and seek out fights. No, India should develop and get stronger without seeking out fights as far as possible. But where our national interests are potentially impinged, we should safeguard those through our own strength, not through friendships and whatever. Then people will stop disrespecting us. Shaurya Singh Rajput says, Professor Jiang has said that memories of living beings could be stored in a non-local universal field of consciousness rather than the human brain. What's your view on this? Who is Professor Jiang? Is he the gentleman who does the predictive geopolitics or whatever it is? Okay, I don't know if he has said this or who the Professor Jiang that you're referring to is. Let's say we have a Professor Jiang who has said this. Memories of living beings could be stored in a non-local universal field or consciousness. What are my views on this? What is this non-local universal field? My question is, what is that? Non-local universal field. What field? A consciousness field. Has anybody ever detected a consciousness field? So, look, I'm not saying such things cannot exist, but the point is we can't prove or disprove this. We don't even have a definition of consciousness. So how will you find a consciousness field? A field in physics is something you can actually measure. The electric field is something you can measure, right? You can measure the gravitational field, the strength of gravitation, the strength of gravity in different parts of wherever you are, and so on. Can you measure a consciousness field? So you can't, right? This is a non-physical thing. If you can't measure it, you don't discuss it in science. If you can't define it, you don't discuss it in science. So my view on this is that this is neither provable nor disprovable, which means it is not science, it's philosophy. And I don't philosophy, spirituality, whatever it is, domain. WBR says in 1937, population of Voronezh region was 6 million plus, but in 1957 it was just 2.36 million. Was this the effect of the German invasion, Operation Barbarossa? I have not looked into the details of Voronezh. Okay, let's quickly take a look at the map. I'm not going to go and do research now, but let me take a look at the map to see if it gives me clues. Vorone, Voronezh. Zoom. Okay. Operation Barbarossa. So Barbarossa was about the invasion of Russia. And the Germans already occupied Poland, right? So they had to go westwards towards Moscow. And then they decided that, you know what, we're going to take a detour and go south because there's oil down south and we need oil in the Caucasus region. And that's why they went for the Caucasus before Moscow. And that's why they ended up losing. It eventually became a disaster for Hitler's Tritiya Rajya, Third Reich. So Voronezh is kind of in the way, it looks like, yeah. So is it the case that the population fell drastically because of Barbarossa? I don't know. It's possible. It looks likely, but there could also have been other causes. Maybe population transfer or whatever. Stalin was known for doing such things, for moving populations around forcibly. So I'm not sure, but I think it's possible. Yeah. Leader of the Free Galaxy says how to implement just-in-time learning in the 20s. Just-in-time learning. I don't know what that is. What is just-in-time learning? Learn things only when you need to learn them. You can do just-in-time learning as long as you have very strong fundamentals of whatever field you are in. If that's what just-in-time learning is. Yeah. So sometimes, let's say you're a physicist, and let's say you've been working in quantum mechanics, but now you want to work in relativity. And when you open up the textbooks of relativity just to get a crash course, you realize there's some math that I am not really familiar with. So then you go and do your just-in-time learning, 24 to 48 hours. You cram up, you practice the math. Let's say tensor calculus or whatever. You can get a reasonably good grasp of tensor calculus in, let's say, 4 or 5 days if you spend 12 hours a day working through problems. Yeah, you can. So that is going to take time, and you will need very strong mathematical fundamentals and foundation before you can even imagine or even dream of learning tensor calculus in 4 days. You can, provided you have a very strong foundation in mathematics, advanced mathematics, right? These books you will need to have worked through in the past. So you can't do just-in-time learning of just about any subject. You have to have good fundamentals and foundation in that subject. Then you can do just-in-time learning of higher concepts in that field. Somalia Paul says FCRA 2.0 rules make conversion slower or zero effects. As far as I have seen, there is no mention of religion in the FCRA 2.0 rules. There's no mention of religion anywhere. I think it simply tightens the rules for NGOs as far as I have seen. I have not really gone into the nitty-gritties, the details. But yeah, as far as I know, as far as I've seen, there is no mention of religion. Leader of the Free Galaxy says, a belief I've changed in the past 10 years. I don't think I've changed any belief in the past 10 years. I don't think so. Varinder Barwa says, PM45 is the father of Y haplogroup R, Y DNA haplogroup R, the patrilineal Y chromosomal haplogroup R, PQR. Q has to be the ancestor of R. Let me see. PQR. Q has to be the ancestor of R. Let's see. Y chromosomal haplogroup R. Q. Nope. Q. Q. Y chromosomal. Come on, bro. Y chromosome haplogroup Q. This has to be the ancestor of R. Let's see. QM blah blah etc. Q blah da 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 da. What's the ancestor? P1. PQ. There we have it. So the ancestor of Q is P. And what are the descendants? Origin. Okay. Subclades, Q, the Q1, Q2, downstream. Okay, downstream haplogroups. Downstream Q1, Q, lots of Q. Okay, Y chromosome haplogroup R. What's the ancestor of R? Y DNA. Where is it gone? Come back. Ritornami. Ancestor is P. How can this bypass Q? This Wikipedia is not necessarily correct, okay? Please remember that. It does say that its ancestor is Q. Sorry, P something. Okay, so that's what Wikipedia says. I'm not sure about this. So between P and R, there's going to be Q. But let's say, okay, yeah. So P is not the father of R. P is an ancestor of R. He's an ancestor of ours. That I would completely agree. Yes, it's ancestral North Eurasian, is it? A&E. Modern South Asians have highest proportion of A&E, 20-30% after Native Americans. Ancient North Eurasian. Ooh la la, very interesting. Yes. North Eurasian, who are the North Eurasian peoples? The Yakutians, the Siberians, the Tungusic peoples, and so on. And they are obviously, they are strongly related, closely related to the Mongolic peoples. Yes. And the North Eurasians, they are very closely related to the Native Americans. Yes, true. Absolutely right. So PM45, let's go back. P-M45 ANE, ancestral Northern Eurasians. Fascinating. Ghost populations. Okay, so the ANE are the ancestors of the Northern Eurasian people and all. Is it surprising? It's not surprising. It's not surprising. We are all interconnected. We are all interrelated. We are all each other's relatives. Every human being who is alive today is a cousin of everybody else. Distant cousins, sure, but we are all cousins. We all share ancestors. Take a person from India, take a person who is a Native American. We're going to have shared ancestry. Going back, I don't know how many generations, hundreds perhaps, but we will have shared ancestry. So there's no surprise here. There's no surprise. Nothing at all. Not at all. No surprise. But it's fascinating, this point, this fact that you have raised over here. Fascinating. Kakashi says, 1 out of 2. I have not studied BJP, RSS, but I don't think it's founded on revolutionary or anti-imperialist ideology principles. What is the guarantee of a... Okay, so I have not studied this. I don't go into domestic politics. But okay, what is the guarantee a different leader with no geopolitical history, historical civilizational understanding sells out to Western finance, capitalism, or Zionists, eroding our sovereignty and well-being? There's no guarantee of anything in life. There's no guarantee of anything in life. I myself have not studied the history of the various Indian political parties in any detail. So I don't know what the principles and the ideology, etc. are. I have not studied them, so I can't say for sure. I can't say myself that I know what the principles, etc., foundational ideology, etc. is. I don't know. I only see the track record. I see the actions, and the actions obviously are an indicator of deeper principles and so on. Yes, I only look at the actions. And anyway, I don't study Indian politics. I don't comment on Indian politics. But the question that you're raising is that what is the guarantee that a different leader with no foundational understanding of geopolitics, history, and civilization, what's the guarantee that a new such leader will not sell out to whoever else, to foreign interests, let's say, eroding India's sovereignty? There's no guarantee. There is no guarantee. And that guarantee, I would say, is inapplicable no matter which political party you're referring to. No matter which political party comes to power, there is no guarantee of anything. So there's no guarantee, unfortunately. That's the fun part of democracy. There's no guarantee of anything. It's a lottery. It's a popularity contest. And popularity contests generally don't throw up good leaders, unless you get really lucky, right? Sometimes you will have a leader who has everything that's needed for winning a popularity contest while also being a great leader. That's very rare, very rare. The US had one such leader, Ronald Reagan, who was the last great American president. So sometimes you get such a person, but typically, there is no guarantee. So I can't offer you any guarantees of anything. You never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. You may have tremendously high hopes from a leader, but that leader may turn out to be underwhelming, underperforming, potentially, hypothetically. I'm not specifying any specific leader. I'm just saying in general, it's like that. In democracy, you never know. So what you do is you look at a person's track record, you look at their actions, you ignore their words. That's what you do. All right. The KD Kamat says, hope you're well. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am well. I hope you're too. Is manifestation in quantum realities, etc., as taught by Dispenza real or just pseudo-scientific quackery? I don't think universe cares about us. I don't know who Dispenza is. I don't know what he teaches. Manifestation is some spiritual thing which I don't understand, and I don't know anything about it. Quantum realities. Look, these days people put the term quantum in front of anything. Quantum consciousness, quantum healing, quantum this, quantum that. Quantum, if you say quantum, then everything sounds mystical and super intelligent, and you sound like a genius if you use the word quantum liberally. I don't know who is Dispenza. Let's find out. Who is Dispenza? Manifestation, quantum realities, Dispenza. Dispenza. Who's Dispenza? Dr. Joe Dispenza. Quantum manifestation. Physical reality is controlled by an invisible field of energy information. Okay, listen, look. Yeah, not for me. I will not pass judgment on this gentleman and put a tag on him, but it doesn't look like he's talking science here. Okay, maybe he's right in his own way, possibly from his perspective. But it's definitely not science. It's definitely not quantum mechanics. I don't know what manifestation. Okay, what is manifestation? If you desire something strongly enough, if you think about something every day and you try and attract it towards you, then it will happen. You know what? It's possible it may happen. If you take action, if you just sit somewhere and keep thinking, I want $20 million. If you repeat it 20 times a day or 100 times a day for 5 years, sitting and doing nothing, nothing's going to happen. But if you take action, and then maybe what you were trying to manifest may become real. My point is, this is not science. That's my main point. This is not science. Sergeant Skyland says, I guess we are going with Rafale and Safran. We shall see. We shall see. We shall see. I don't know. Has India made any final decision? Has India signed any agreement with France about the Rafale jet fighter and about the Safran engines? Intergovernmental agreement, 26 Rafale M jets, that's fine. Maritime Rafales. France submitted a multi-billion-dollar techno-commercial proposal. So we haven't signed that. Still under negotiation. France is asking for an eye and a hand. They refused to transfer the source codes to India, and they want India to pay a tremendous amount of money per fighter plane. And of course, there's going to be a jet engine involved in the deal. So I don't know. Are we going with that? I'm not sure yet. I am not sure about that. Prasannan Gachimani says, why hold back Indian tech under US pressure? UPI could go global, but we are charging UPI while homegrown messaging and social are not rocket science. UPI could go global. UPI. I think, is there US pressure for us not to make UPI a global thing? I don't know. I think India should export this technology to as many African nations and other nations as possible. Export it to the. Do we have UPI in Nepal, first of all? At least we can start in our neighborhood. Does Nepal accept UPI payments? Okay, it's accepted in Nepal for merchant payments. Indian travelers can use popular UPI apps like GPay, whatever. Participating merchant QR codes, phone pay network. Okay, so it's popular so we have UPI in Nepal. What about Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka. Yes, Sri Lanka accepts UPI payments. Fantastic. Good. What about It's no point asking about Pakistan. Bangladesh. Bangladesh, no. Pakistan, no point asking. Afghanistan, obviously not yet. Burma, not yet. Burma is in trouble. Um, yeah, we should export UPI to all friendly nations. Yeah. Um, Homegrowing messaging and social are not rocket science. I agree with you. Yes. So if India is holding back Indian tech under US pressure, India should stop doing that. About that, I'm in complete agreement with you. Acharya Mahendra says, infamous slave of you. What? Okay. That's your views. No comments about that. Okay. Ganapati says, the idea of sovereignty that Indian right wing has is US team A bad, so we must team up with US team B. Cosplaying as Hindus, they act as a fifth column thoughts. Thoughts. What thoughts would you want to give about this? I would say not all Indian right wingers like that. Maybe 5% is in favor of genuine sovereignty. Maybe 5% of India's right wing. See, the problem with most Indians is that they lack the ability to think critically. They go with consensus. They go with groupthink. They can't think critically. They can't question the established consensus. Indians, once again, I'm going back to the infamous education system. The ability to ask questions is smashed out of our consciousness or of our psyche during the 20 years we are in the education system. Indians become unable to ask questions. Indians develop this inability to ask questions of themselves, of anyone else. They simply can't question the accepted narratives. So this is fine, this is good. Oh, Republicans bad, Democrats good. Democrats bad, Republicans good. A, B, whatever. Full supports are to so-and-so country. That's the Indian right wing. Maybe 5% of them think differently without taking any names whatsoever. That's the problem in India. How do you change the situation? You reform the education system. Of course, they won't do it. Okay, Sankar Chilikuri says Turkey, Pakistan pulled in due to shared border with Iran. Yeah, that's a common thing with them. They both have a shared border with Iran, but I think it's a bigger picture than that. The US is orchestrating this from behind the scenes. Kakashi says we can't rely on individual leaders. Systems, processes, framework, and ideology and principles should be in place to ensure the right successor or India will fall like the USSR. I agree. It has to be the system. With the right system, you don't have to worry about individuals. The system will produce the right people. The system should be such that it weeds out the incapable and less capable people and only promotes the very best 0.1% or 0.01%. That's the kind of system you want to have. Such a system will obviously be founded on merit and high standards. Do we have such a system in India that's based on merit and high standards? We don't. We have the opposite kind of system in India. A system that seeks out and identifies and destroys talent or forces talent to leave the country and go abroad. And it promotes mediocrity, it worships mediocrity. That's the system we have. So I agree with what you say here. Yes. Caution World says, do you think the reason people in Japan, Germany, South Korea are not revolting against the US for independence is they have a high incomes and living standards? That's one thing. And the second thing is that they are indoctrinated. Their education system ensures that they hate their own country and are ashamed of their countries. Especially Germany and Japan. Germany and Japan, in school you're taught that your country is evil. You have done great sins and you must pay for them forever. You must atone for them forever. You must be ashamed of your country and its past. And you must be fully, completely pacifistic. You must accept all punishments without complaint. That's what's drilled into their heads since the time they're 3 years old. So it's a nation of sheep, essentially. In Germany, people are ashamed to wave the German flag during a football match. No, 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 no. Don't show any nationalism, that sort of thing. In Japan, also, everyone is made pacifistic by the education system. That's the real reason. That is the real reason. Okay, Somalia Paul says, how the hell, okay, how the hell longer Kurdish rebels in Turkey disbanded themselves last year? That gives sense. Powers helping behind Balochistan is not same as Kurdistan, but Kurdish forces still exist in Syria and Iraq. Well, there's always something behind it, right? The Kurds. There was a proposal recently, this year itself. Let us use the Kurds to as the advance force for an invasion of Iran. Who was thinking of this? The United States. How many times has the US used and then discarded the Kurds in Iraq and Syria and wherever? Syria especially. How many times? Recently the Pakistani foreign minister, Mr. Khawaja Asif, you know what he said recently? The US uses us like toilet paper and then discards us. He actually said that, Khawaja Asif. I think the Kurds could say the same thing about the US, about the way the US treats them. So if they have disbanded themselves in Turkey and so on, there are reasons for that, right? There are stronger forces, bigger forces at play that cause such things to happen. Abhishek Srivastav says, till when can India withstand against the US? FCR reviews, the government should go ahead and pass the bill. That's my views about FCRA. Until when can India withstand the US? Well, as long as we have strong leadership. Yes, as long as we have strong leadership and we go forward with developing hard power and we choose our friends wisely, choose your friends wisely, we will be able to withstand them. I am optimistic that India has a 50% chance that we will withstand them in the next 5 years. And if we can withstand the next 5 years, we are good to go for the next 50, 100. Okay, Acharya Mahendra says, AIM is a proponent of AIT. AIM advocates for US military bases in India. AIM believes that British did a favor by colonizing India at a cost to the UK. Oh, look, that's fine. Let people believe what they want to believe. I don't know, first of all, whether you're talking about Abhijit Armitra, right? I don't know what opinions he holds about the Aryan invasion, migration theory. I personally don't know what he has said about this. Maybe he's a proponent of that. Fine, that's his choice. It's a free country. It's a free world. Let people believe what they want to believe. Who am I to pass judgment about this? It's a free world. People have the right to believe what they want to believe. I don't believe in the AIT. I don't believe in the Aryan migration theory. I have been the strongest proponent of this theory since 2017. Before that, I used to believe in it. And then one day I said, let me look into the primary information, the primary sources. Textbooks and scholars and experts say that there was an Aryan invasion, but let me look at the actual primary evidence. So I spent several months going through the primary evidence from research papers and actual reports, primary reports. And then I was astonished that I had been so stupid. And I changed my view based on the new information. Since then, and I wrote a very detailed article in 2017. Now, let people believe what they want to believe. It's their choice. I don't know what his views about US military bases in India are. I don't know what his views are. You said that it's this, but I haven't seen it for myself. So I can't comment about that. My views are that there should be no foreign military bases in India. Did the British do a favor by colonizing India? No. Was it at a cost to the UK? Come on. Has he said this? I don't know. I don't agree with that. So that's my view on this. But it's a free world. People can believe what they want to believe. I don't know if he has said this because I haven't heard him say any of these things. So I'm not going to pass any judgment on him. And anyway, it's his choice. If he does believe in any of these things, it's his choice. The Hell Dragon says, should Modi focus more on building and strengthening their bonds with Japan, Indonesia, South Korea, etc., instead of Israel and the US? India should focus on building and strengthening bonds with sovereign nations that are friendly to India. sovereign nations. India should also strengthen its economic ties with all other nations. With all other nations, India should have mutually beneficial relations, whether economic relations or diplomatic relations or whatever relations, with as many nations as possible. This includes Japan, Indonesia, South Korea, and so on. India should also try and have good relations with the US and Israel, of course. Of course, Israel. We have good relations with the US. We don't have any issues, major issues with Israel. But please remember that Japan and South Korea are not sovereign nations. They are nations under permanent American military occupation, not sovereign nations. My view is that India should focus on strengthening its relations with Russia, with Israel for sure, with Greece, with Cyprus, with Armenia, with Iran. Why not? And also with China, as far as is possible, and everybody else. Okay. Ganapati says, as you mentioned, I too believe that the US is behind Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia pact. This was done on purpose to bring together an Israel, India, Cyprus alliance. Oh, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. See, I have, of course, gone on the record and said that India should explore its options with these countries. I didn't say Armenia in the short that I put out. Armenia is too small, sadly, to be significant, but India is helping Armenia, with the help of Iran, by the way, against Israel and Azerbaijan and Turkey. So on the one side, there are a bunch of nations that want to destroy Armenia. Who are they? Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Israel. They want to destroy Armenia. And who is helping Armenia? India and Iran. What? Yeah. So is the US orchestrating this Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia pact so that they can bring India, Israel, Cyprus together? The US doesn't give a damn about India or Cyprus. The US is not doing this to bring Israel and India and Cyprus together. They are doing it for their own benefit. Kakashi says, could be propaganda, but why do police in Chicago seem so nice? In China. Not Chicago. Why do police in China seem so nice? They go out of their way to help people. Secondly, why Sergio and Telangana inauguration avenue named after Trump? I don't know about the second part. I don't know. Okay, they inaugurated avenue named after Trump. I'm not aware of this. And I will not comment about internal politics in India. But why do police in China seem so nice? They go out of their way to help people. I don't know what police in China are like. I have no idea. If they do go out of their way to help people, I would say good for them. Kudos. Good for them. I have no idea. Maybe the Chinese Communist Party has mandated that cops should behave well and actually serve and protect the people, not shoot them like they do in certain parts of the world. Maybe, yeah. So I'm not aware of how the police behaves in China. I am not aware at all. But if they are being nice, I would say good job. Krishna says, since Turkey has Article 5 protection, why would NATO allow it to join another similar alliance, which might trigger the NATO Article 5? Yes, Turkey is part of NATO. Yes, Article 5 protection, mutual defense thing. So why would NATO allow Turkey to join another similar alliance? Makes sense that NATO should tell Turkey that you can't join a rival alliance. You can't join our enemies. NATO should say that. So why have they allowed Turkey to join another alliance? It can only mean that this other alliance is not a rival alliance. It's a complementary alliance that is friends with NATO. That's what it means. Otherwise, they won't allow Turkey to do that. Understand? Dheeraj Kamath says, does India have anything to fear from the ever-expanding Islamic NATO? Could India defeat all of them in a hypothetical conflict? So look, there is currently a mutual defense agreement between three countries: Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. And there is a separate development, which is a 14-member naval alliance of Islamic countries. Pakistan is probably part of it. Bangladesh is part of it. Nigeria, Comoros, and so on. So These developments will eventually converge, in my opinion. Does India have anything to fear from these people? Look, can Saudi Arabia pose a military threat to India? No, not strong enough, not powerful enough militarily. No. Can Turkey pose a military threat to India? Too far and too weak. They can't. Yeah, they have some base in the Horn, some military presence in the Horn of Africa, Djibouti, and so on, but insignificant. They don't pose a military threat to India. The thing is, Saudi Arabia can fund Pakistan significantly, and Turkey can sell significant weapons to Pakistan. So Saudi Arabia gives gives Pakistan free money. Pakistan takes the free money and gives it to Turkey for weapons and drones and whatnot. And Turkey has a world-class aerospace industry, increasingly world-class. Good drones, good progress in the fifth generation fighter planes, and so on. So that way, it could be a problem for India. But if Turkey and Saudi Arabia decide to fight India militarily, they are not even in a position to come to India and fight us. Yeah, they can't. But the problem is that they can help Pakistan in a variety of ways. And other such nations may also join the fray. And they may all prop up Pakistan further. Right? So that's the issue. Caution World says, will European countries be at war if USA pulled out of Europe and really not interfere in Europe? What kind of rivalries in war can we expect to see? Or they'll go back at each other's throats within a few years. If the US genuinely withdraws from Europe and stops interfering, then all the little rivalries will come out again. Why do you have peace in the Balkans today? Former Yugoslavia. Why are Serbia and Bosnia not fighting each other? Because the US is the policeman who is stopping that from happening. The moment the US withdraws, they're going to go back at each other's throats. There are old territorial disputes everywhere, not just the Balkans. Greece and Turkey will be at each other's throats. The Turks will try and invade Greece, and they will try and take over the rest of Cyprus. France and Germany have history. There's so much stuff out there. In a few years, they'll be at each other's throats again if the Americans pull out, withdraw, and stop interfering. Aniket says, thoughts on fiber optic drone 2 Infosys engine test. Fiber optic drone. I am not aware of this new development, if it's a new development, so I don't know. No thoughts. India's staged combustion engine test. I think that's very good. It's a great development. India already has at least 2 cryogenic staged combustion engines that have been developed by ISRO, or the second one, ISRO is developing it, but an Indian startup has developed a staged combustion engine. That is fantastic. Great job. Kakashi says, you suggest India sell weapons to the US and help them out in Iran war. Could you clarify what you meant by that? India should not fund terror and useless damaging wars and reduce our image. Do I have to make a certain face to sound sarcastic? Why can't people understand sarcasm and humor? Do you really believe I want India to sell America weapons? I don't know. Maybe I should put a big disclaimer when I'm saying this. This is sarcasm. Don't get upset and offended, and don't get triggered. Do you really think I want India to sell weapons to the US? Do you think the US will want to buy weapons from India even if they're short of weapons? I've seen so many triggered comments there below that short. People simply just don't get sarcasm, right? Do I have to make a certain face? That sort of thing, do I? Or do I have to put a disclaimer? I am being sarcastic. Indians, hello Indians, I am being sarcastic. Will you only then understand this? What do I do, man? I have a sense of humor. If you meet me in real life and spend some time with me, you will see that I have a sense of humor and I have a tendency to be sarcastic. But people just don't get nuance in India. Okay. Kakashi says Morocco and Spain are US vassals. Europe does not control its borders. The US and deep state does. US and Zionists punished Spain for their posturing against war on Iran. If you say so, sir. If you say so. I am not saying anything. If you say so. Was Spain being very naughty? Were they saying things they were not supposed to say? Okay. Mudit Dasmana says, Dasmana. Endogamy originating in 0 BC is a lie. India's average FST is 0.011 and AASI is not caste. Do you support reservation Hatao Andolan? How did slave owners end racism? Okay, the first thing you're saying endogamy, and I'm not aware of that, so I will not comment about that. Do I support reservation Hatao Andolan? I have been saying since 2021 that I don't support reservations. I have been saying that. I am on the record consistently year after year saying that. I don't know if there is some new Andolan now, and there are some fantastic leaders of this Andolan. I have been saying this since before it was fashionable to say that. I don't believe in reservations. I believe in merit. Let there be Andolan if there is Andolan. I am not aware of it. Who are the people leading it? Whoever it is. So I don't support reservations. I am in favor of 100% merit. How did slave owners end racism? They did not. They did not. Rahul Khanvilkar says, why Indians are obsessed with showing off American iPhones? I suppose it's a prestigious phone. See what I have? Latest iPhone 17 Max Pro or whatever. Look, it just makes you feel good. I think it's a status symbol or whatever, right? The latest, most expensive phone. I suppose that's why it is. I'm sure not everyone does that. Kakashi says, why you against Ramayan? What? Why you against Ramayan? When did that happen? I am against Ramayan. In what way am I against Ramayan? What have I done? I am against Ramayan. What have I done? What have I said? I am against Ramayan. Are you referring to that Bollywood movie? Are you referring to the movie? The movie is trash. That's why I'm against it. I know. I already know it's trash. I have a way of seeing things in advance. Watch it. If you like it, good for you. I am not watching it. I can't stand the people the actors who have been chosen to play those roles. I'm not saying they're bad people or whatever. They don't embody the characters. Big beef guy is gonna play Lord Ram, and some God knows who that lady is. She's gonna play Sitaji. If you read the Valmiki Ramayana, you know what Sri Ram looked like. You know what Sitaji looked like. Their physical descriptions are given. The actors and actresses should kind of, at least to some extent, match those descriptions. But no, you will find somebody who's the opposite of the description. There's just one reason why I'm not going to watch it. And overall, I don't watch Bollywood movies anymore. The last one I saw was the two Dhurandhar movies, which are not really Bollywood movies, right? Those are anti-Bollywood movies. Yeah, so I'm not watching it. I am not anti-Ramayana. I'm just not going to watch the movie. I haven't seen the Odyssey yet. Is it too late to see it? I'm not watching Ramayana. Korea is dystopian, extreme communism in north, extreme capitalism in south. South fully US captured. North relies on Russia and China. Yes, okay. Ganapati says truth nuke time. Google Romila Thapar, Indian Friends of Israel Society. But sure, let's keep soaring our full support to fatherland. full support, sir. Full support. Shall I Google it? I'm pretty sure I know what's gonna turn up, but let's do it anyways. And since I'm doing it per your instructions. Romila Thapar, Indian Friends of Israel Society. Member of Indian Friends of Israel, associated with the Indian Friends of Israel, early enthusiasm, diplomatic friction, late disillusionment, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, Kakashi says India should work more than Europe as we are developing, but less than East Asians. Endless work, productivity for money, prosperity with no balance joy is bad. If you work like the East Asians, you will end up with a TFR of 0.75. What's the total fertility rate in South Korea right now? What is South Korea's total fertility rate today? 0.8. 0.8. Oh. 0.8. Every new generation is 1/3 roughly the size of the previous generation. Why? Constant work, overwork. If you work, if both husband and wife work, when will they produce children? And even if they do produce a child, who's going to take care of it when both are working? There's no joint families anymore. If you adopt the East Asian model, you're going to end up destroying your society. You're going to have no future because there'll be no Indians left. See Japan, what's happening there. See the TFR in Japan. See the TFR in China. I think India should adopt the Israel model. In Israel's TFR is 3, and it's a prosperous high-tech society. Okay. Srishti Siliguri says, please talk about Gautamiputra Satakarni. Were he and Kanishka contemporaries? 1st to 3rd century CE. How great was Bharat? Enjoyed your education podcast with Awara Musafir. Thank you so much, ma'am. Gautamiputra Satakarni was the greatest of the Satvahana kings. You know, the Satvahana, it's called a kingdom, right? It was almost an empire. It was massive. The whole of the, not the whole of the peninsular part of India, but a massive part of the Indian peninsular region was under the domain of the Satvahana kings. And the greatest of them was Gautamiputra Satakarni. And his mother's name was Gautami Balashri, I think. Right? And she has this inscription somewhere in the peninsular part of India where she extols the greatness and achievements of her son. I'm sure he deserved it all. But his mother was a very, very influential and powerful lady. Gautamiputra Satakarni. And he's named after his mother. Right? Gautamiputra Satakarni. So he doesn't carry his father's name, he carries his mother's name. Of course, the lineage was patrilineal, but the mothers were given that sort of, respect and so on. So he was the greatest of the Satvahana kings. He expanded the kingdom, the empire to its greatest extent. And after him, it was Yajnashri Satakarni, was he? Who was the son of Gautamiputra Satakarni? Who was Gautamiputra Satakarni's son? Okay, Vashishtiputra Pulu Mavi. Yeah. So Gautamiputra Satakarni's wife was Vashishti, and her son was Pulumavi. Yes. And he was married to the daughter. Vashishtiputra Pulumavi was married to the daughter of the great Mahakshatrapa Rudradaman II. The Mahakshatrapa Rudradaman II was a ruler of Western India. He was of Scythian ancestry. He was a great Shaivite, and he controlled the great ports of Western India, through which we traded with Rome and Europe and Egypt and everybody. So tremendous wealth, obviously, prosperity, because you control the ports of Gujarat. And And Rudradaman was a rival of Vasishthiputra Pulumavi. These two were rivals. And to, to try and find a diplomatic solution, Rudradaman had Pulumavi marry his daughter, Rudradaman's daughter. So they became son-in-law and father-in-law. Rudradaman is the father-in-law, and Pulumavi is the son-in-law. And yet they fought two wars after that. And both times Rudradaman won, and he obviously had no option but to spare the life of Pulumavi. Son-in-law, you can't kill him. That sort of thing. So the high point of the Satvahana Empire was the rule of Gautamiputra Satakarni. Was he a contemporary of Kanishka? It's hard to say. Even now, we're not 100% sure when did Kanishka live. 2nd century AD or something, it's said, right? Most likely. If Kanishka lived in the 2nd century AD, perhaps they were contemporaries to some extent. But most likely, Gautamiputra Satakarni was a contemporary of Nahapana. Nahapana, most likely. Nahapana was perhaps the greatest of the Mahakshatrapas, the Western satraps. Nahapana. And there are these movies in which his portrait is this invader or whatever. So yeah, I'm not sure if Gautamiputra Satakarni and Kanishka were contemporaries, but they never had a conflict. How great was Bharat? Bharat was beautiful at the time. You had great kingdoms. You had the great Mahakshatrapas in the west. You still had the remnants of the Kushan Empire in the north. Down south, you have the great Satvahanas. Eastwards, what was going on? Kalinga, something or the other was going on, I'm sure. So you had prosperity. You had reasonable peace overall. Even if kings would clash, it would not affect the civilians in any way whatsoever. And the Gupta Empire was yet to come. So yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. Good time to be a Bharatiya. Yeah. Okay. Education was great. The education system was fantastic at the time, unlike today. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed the podcast that I did. Thank you. Thank you. Shivansh says, do you believe Sindhu Saraswati script is actually Sanskrit? If so, why? I believe it is Sanskrit. Why do I believe this? I have believed this since before Bharat Rao deciphered it. At least he claims to decipher it. I am most likely sure that he is correct. Why do I believe it was actually Sanskrit? Because you can see a correspondence between the Saraswati Sindhu script characters, the glyphs, and the later Brahmi glyphs. You can see a transition happening from this to that. And Brahmi evolved in northern and western India, right? Eventually, it made its way all the way down south, and even Tamil was written in Brahmi. So you can clearly see that the Saraswati Sindhu symbols and glyphs have over time transitioned into the Brahmi characters. And I mean, the other thing is that it's northern and western India. What are the languages spoken in the region today? These are Sanskrit derived languages, the upper provincial languages that are spoken from Maharashtra in the south all the way to Gandhar in the north. All are Sanskrit derived languages. Even Pashto has a lot of Iranic influence. Even Persian was Sanskrit derived. So the whole region historically in olden days spoke Sanskrit. So how will the script not be Sanskrit, right? It's just logic. Anyway, let the official decipherment happen, then we'll see if I'm right or wrong. Okay. Kakashi says US China can't vassalize Russia. It's too strong in autarky and has historic strong systems, institutions, intelligence, etc. Second, R has freedom resistance fighters. I don't know what has are. Russia, okay. US and China can't vassalize Russia. You never say never. Never say never. The US almost vassalized Russia before Putin came to power. I mean, Yeltsin deliberately imploded Russia's economy. Yeltsin is regarded as an American stooge. Who respects Yeltsin in Russia today? Right? The entire Russian economy, the decades, like 7 decades of the savings of the Russian people, which were held collectively by the USSR, that money was inherited by Russia. It was destroyed, burned away by Yeltsin in all these by dumping it into all these loss-making industries run by thieves, oligarchs, like they're called. Putin stopped the rot. Putin over time has built Russia back to some semblance of the strength it once had. If Mr. Putin is about in his early to mid 70s, right? He won't be around forever. So when he gives up power, or whenever the power is transferred to somebody else, that is going to be the crucial time in Russia's history. If the successor is as strong as Putin, things will be fine. But if the successor is someone like Yeltsin, Russia will implode, and all of Putin's hard work, will have been for nothing. And Russia will get vassalized again, most likely by China this time. Even today, China is treating Russia like a junior partner. There's this gas pipeline that Russia is supposed to build to China. That's been under negotiations for years now. China is insisting on rock bottom prices. It knows it can squeeze Russia because Russia has no choice. Never say never. It's a very delicate time for Russia. Okay, second, I don't know what H ** AS is. I don't know what that is. Sorry. I'm not able to think what it could mean. Yep, no idea. Sorry. Fast Snail says, strange how the doctor responsible for millions of COVID deaths can plead the Fifth Amendment and not be accountable. Even stranger, he was pardoned by the previous administration. Very strange. One of the final things Shri Biden ji did was pardon Dr. Fauci, right? Yeah, he did that. And he's been pardoned for everything that he did until that year, right? Whatever, 24. And so all he has to do is, I respectfully decline to answer the questions under advice by my lawyers. I plead the Fifth Amendment. That's it. He's no longer accountable. Gets away with it, I suppose. That's how it goes in the US. Memologypedia says, odd question. I poured every effort, but she couldn't find the courage to move forward. I poured every effort, but she could not find the courage to move forward. Is fear stronger than love? She thinks I would be same as her past bitter experience. Why love has become difficult? I don't know. I don't know if I have the answer for you. I don't think I have. I don't know who she is. I don't know who you are, sadly. And I don't know what your relationship is like and what your circumstances are like. So I have no idea. Why has love become difficult? Is love difficult? Relationships can be difficult. Love is pure and simple. If you see something and it uplifts you, you feel love. If you see something, it isn't evil, it is not dirty, it uplifts your spirit, I suppose that is love in some shape or form. Maybe an element of love is there somewhere. So love is a one-sided thing. If it is reciprocated by somebody else, then it's great. But is there a guarantee that if you love somebody, it's going to be reciprocated? There's no guarantee, right? So that's life. Life is complicated. Life isn't simple. Life can be complicated. So it's not like love has become difficult or is difficult or something. Maybe your specific circumstances are complicated. That's what I would say possibly is indicated by what you are sharing over here. Anyhow, I wish you the best, sir or ma'am. Yeah, I think it's sir. Okay. I imagine it's you're a gentleman. All the best to you. All right. I hope things work out for you. All the best. Or Rarun Rajar, good to see you, sir, after a while. I believe there are no protests in the world without someone trying to take over for different reasons. It's up to the world. It's up to the one in the field to see it. Protests have an agenda. Protests typically have a stated reason, and sometimes they have unstated reasons too. And they, of course, protests will have a stated agenda, but there could be unstated agendas too. And you need to know how to see what's really going on. Yeah, yeah. R. Rarun Roger says, I used to involve myself in many protests. In college, had student leader who did not let anyone else try to take over, especially politicians. Protests should have clear goals and should stop when achieved. Okay, so you used to participate in protests. And you were a student leader who did not let anyone else try to take over, especially politicians. Well, okay. You see, in college, you have student leaders and whatever. Colleges are typically training grounds and proving grounds for future politicians. What do political parties look for in college students and leaders? The ability to mobilize people. That's the only thing they look for. If you can bring 100 people on demand, you have potential. If you can bring 200 people on demand, you have twice the potential. That's all that matters in politics. Anyhow, so protests should have clear goals and should stop when achieved. Yeah, so the protests, these cockroach Janta Party protests that happened, they had a clear goal. The resignation of the minister. They got it and it dissolved. Did it achieve anything? Now you have a new minister. Are your problems over? Obviously not. Kakashi says, Japan, beautiful country, culture, but no free time. Yeah, exactly. No free time. Just work and slaving away for US empire and capitalism. And despite being rich, so many die from earthquake. People slave away. You're right. You're right. I remember when I was a child, I used to read about the Japanese education system. Apparently, there was a saying in Japan: sleep 4 hours and pass, sleep 5 hours and fail. In school, if you are in school, you have to study like you're mad. And if you sleep 4 hours, you will pass. If you sleep 5 hours, you'll fail. That's the sort of system they have. What are you? They're churning out sheep and slaves. That's why their birth rate has declined so drastically. That's what has been done to Japan. They've been turned into a nation of essentially robots. Beautiful country, beautiful culture, but that's what has been done to Japan. It's tragic. Tragic. Gagan Bhatt says, why the US doesn't carry out regime change operations in Cuba? They are squeezing Cuba very badly right now. They've cut off, they've put in an oil embargo. Hospitals are going without electricity. If a hospital goes without electricity overnight, everyone who is in the ICU passes away. That's the sort of thing that's being done to Cuba. I think they want Cuba to implode on its own. They want the people to suffer so much pain that they will blame the government and bring the government down. So the US can say, you know what, hey, freedom. Now we will walk in and bring democracy, that sort of thing. The US can afford to wait. There's no hurry, right? There's no hurry. Okay. Kakashi says, I love Modi, but he should clear up his ACYPL activities. Yes, we saw something last time, in the last live stream, I think. All Indians, including BJP ministers and Epstein files, should come clean. Congress should come clean on China MOU. All right, sir. For me, no comments. I don't comment about Indian politics. I discuss geopolitics, history, science. I have a policy. I don't discuss Indian politics. So I shall say no comments about this. Sorry. Angad Griwal says, do you think India will ever reach China level? Look at Shenzhen. Our Delhi does not even have clean roads and lights in some areas. And do you think BJP is going to be successful in making Lok Sabha seats 800 plus? With the right leadership, India can definitely reach the level of China. Why do you have a situation where even the capital city doesn't have clean roads and lighting or whatever? Why is it like that? Even the capital city is like this in India. Standards, right? And allegedly, I'm saying, at least in some parts of India, allegedly corruption. Allegedly. These are the reasons. If you have a strong enough leadership, all this will be taken care of step by step. Yeah. That's why. I don't know about BJP successful in making Lok Sabha 800 plus seats. I have no idea. No idea. Can't say. AK Edits says, if US shared land border with Nazis in World War II, maybe the war would have been more interesting, maybe quicker. Okay, Sharma108X says, thoughts on Camilla Townsend's fifth son that's on history of the Aztecs from the start to the aftermath of the conquest. She relies on native sources. I haven't read it. I haven't read that. I've heard it's really interesting, but I haven't read it so far. So won't be able to tell you. I think it was on my to read list, but my to read list is enormous. I'm not sure if or when I will have time to read that. But the history of Mesoamerica is fascinating. It's very poorly examined. Much of the examinations that have been done from very biased and very Eurocentric perspectives and very anti-polytheistic, anti-native perspectives. So if Camilla Townsend's fifth son is, if it relies on native sources, that's fantastic. So yeah, maybe I should revisit my reading list, what I need to read. Anyway, thank you for the reminder, and I have not read it so far, so I can't really say anything about it. Dheeraj Kamath says, why is Israel, if it is as powerful and sovereign as you claim, not able to stop the worldwide pro-Palestine propaganda? Right now, Israel is extremely unpopular world over, and wrongly. Who's funding it? I don't know who's funding it. Look, why is Israel, if it's as powerful? See, you may be sovereign and unpopular. Sovereignty has nothing to do with popularity. Sovereignty has nothing to do with popularity. Powerful. You can be powerful and unpopular. Of course you can. You can. So if you are powerful, it doesn't mean you will necessarily be popular. If you are sovereign, it doesn't mean at all that you will be popular. To be able to stop worldwide propaganda, you need to have worldwide power projection and soft power projection, not just hard power projection. Because propaganda is an example of soft power, not hard power, not coercive power, subtle power, insidious power. That's propaganda, right? So if you want to stop propaganda, you need to have massive soft power. If you want to stop propaganda, you need to own the means of production of propaganda. You need to own the means of production of content, whether it is news content, whether it's print content, whether it's social media content, whether it's video content, whether it's podcast content. You need to own the means of production of these things. If you own the means of production, you will control those. Very Marxist approach here, right? If you know what I mean. So Israel doesn't own the means of production of content. Israel hasn't got the scale of soft power globally. That's why it's not able to do much about this. I don't know if it's unpopular wrongly or rightly. That's I'm not passing judgment on that. Does somebody have to fund propaganda? The US certainly isn't funding any anti-Israel propaganda. The US will never do that. If somebody is funding it, who has the money to fund that? Who does? Can't think of anyone. And there are anti-Israel elements in the US as well, right? The Democrats and whoever else. So the situation is more complex than maybe apparent, unless you scrutinize deeply, right? So power doesn't give you the ability. If you have hard power and if you've got strong relations with the US, it doesn't give you the ability to stop global propaganda. Sovereignty doesn't give you that, right? All right. Harshit Jain says, who should India partner with along with the UAE to counter the new Turkey-Saudi PAC alliance? Should India also ramp up its nuclear launch capabilities? Look, India can partner with everybody. But if India wants to counter something that's anti-India, India should not rely on anybody else. Sure, partner with everybody, but don't rely on anyone. Don't depend on anyone. Don't imagine that because I have 7 friends now, I'm fine. Rely only on yourself. How should India counter the new Pakistan-Turkey-Saudi alliance? By ramping up its hard power. There's no other solution. And making more friends and strengthening friendships, sure. But primarily, India must ramp up its hard power. This is something the government of India needs to finally realize. Making friendships is not going to make India powerful. You can't outsource your foreign policy to friendships. Your foreign policy is going to be a factor of your actual hard power. That's what India has to invest in. Okay, Poe says, what is love? Does the definition of love change from person to person? How movies and old writings influence the concept of love? For example, say Shakespeare. I don't know whether the definition of love changes from person to person. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. I don't know. What is love? See, love doesn't have to be a person to person thing, necessarily. You can love a landscape. You can love a piece of art. You can love a garden. You can love a pet animal. You can love a culture. You can love a language. You can love a movie. You can love a song. You understand? Love doesn't necessarily mean it's human to human, person to person, male to female to male, whatever. Love is something more general, more universal. Why do you love a movie? Because it makes you feel good in some sense or some form, some way inside, deep inside. Why do you love a landscape? Because it evokes a certain feeling in you, which you like very much. Why do you love a garden? Why do you love a river? Why do you love a pet dog, pet cat, pet whatever? Why? Why do you love a song? Why does this specific song, why is it that you love it so much? It uplifts you, right? And the same applies to people. Some people uplift you, so you love them. That's my definition of love. I don't know what your definition of love is. Maybe other people have other definitions of love. I don't know. Do you all agree with what I'm saying? Maybe some of you will disagree and you will say that I'm full of hot air. It's entirely up to you. I think the definition may change from person to person. So how did movies and old writings influence the concept of love? I don't know, sir. I don't know. I have my own views about this. I don't know how movies and old writings influence the concept of love. Shakespeare, I don't know what Shakespeare says about love. Shakespeare wrote many interesting, plays and all. I mean, Hamlet, for example. It's not a play about love, of course. Hamlet. It's a play about. It's not an original, by the way. It's taken from a Viking saga, Prince Amlet, right? The Viking Prince Amlet. Anyway, there's Macbeth. There's not a lot of love in there either. Be bloody, bold, and resolute. So I don't know how movies and old writings influence the concept of love, but that's my views on love. All right. Sujal Pekare says, what is correct, right or left or nationalism? It's entirely up to you what's correct. For some people, the right is right. For some people, you favor the left. You find the left more appealing. It's your choice. Who am I to tell you what is right, what is wrong? What I feel is right for me may be something you may feel is wrong for you. You know what? I would say try and understand what your nation's interest is. And that is right. Instead of saying a certain political party is right, political parties sometimes change direction. I would say support and love and work towards the betterment of your nation, your civilization. That is the most right thing. Instead of saying right or left is wrong. That's my view. Okay, Somalia Paul says, how did North Korea get their nukes if they did not acquire it from Russia? Is it China, or did they solely develop their own nukes from scratch like India did? It's definitely not going to be Russia. So maybe either they got it from China or maybe they developed it on their own. It's possible North Korea developed nukes on their own. It's possible. Look, if you have decent engineers and if you have the fissile material, I promise you it's not that hard. Okay, you need someone who understands the theory. Nuclear physics, very boring subject actually. Nuclear physics is very boring. I know it's very boring subject, but if you understand the theory of how nuclear physics works, how fission works, and so on, cross sections and that stuff, and the properties of the various fissile elements and so on, if you have that understanding, if you have a couple of, not a couple of, like a core group of experts on nuclear physics, and if you have world class engineers, and if you have the fissile material, it's not that hard to develop nukes. It's not magic, it's just engineering. Okay, so I would say if North Korea I'm sure North Korea has the nuclear physicists and the engineers. The only question is, where did they acquire the fissile material from? And as long as they got the fissile material, it would not be that hard to develop nukes. Yeah. So you don't have to explain it by saying that they acquired it from here or there. Maybe they did it on their own. Or maybe somebody helped them, whoever it was. Anir Bande says, are we in the ascending Dwapar Yuga as per Yukteswar? I have no idea. Sorry. I don't know about this. Somalia Paul says, is Parshwa clan the Persian same? Is Parshwa clan or Persian same? Then you told they are max 3,000 years old, but how did they be mentioned in Rig Veda, considering Rig Veda was at least 6,000 years old? The Parsua. So Rig Veda does not mention any Parsua clan. It says Parshva. Parshva, not Parsua. So Rig Veda does not mention any Parsua people. And the Rig Veda, yeah. So yes, my view is that the Parshva clan is the clan that is the progenitor of the present day Persian people. Yes, correct. I said they are max 3,000 years old. I said they are maximum 3,000. No, did I say that? I have said they have been around in Persia for at least 3,000 years, because the recorded history of the Parshva people, of the Achaemenid dynasty, it's around 3,000 years old. It doesn't mean that they have been in Persia only 3,000 years. I don't think I've said that. Right? If you look at the history of Persia, before the Achaemenids, before the Hachemonish dynasty, what was that other dynasty that also spoke the same language? Which dynasty came before the Achaemenids? I forget the name. What was the name? What was the king's name? Uvakshatra. Nah, it's gonna give me some stupid nonsense. Okay, the Medes, right? Medes dynasty. The Medes, yes. Fravartish, was it Fravartish? Fravartish, yes, Fravartish. Uvakshatra, Astyagata. So even these Medes, they spoke a Sanskrit-derived language, clearly. Their names were not Fravortis and Sayaxaris and Astyagis. They were Fravartish, Uvakshatra, and Astyagata. And Astyagata's grandson was Kurush II, the Great of Persia. So they were connected. They were related to the Achaemenids. So most likely the Median dynasty and the Achaemenids were both descended of the Parshva people. And we're talking about something that's happened in the past 3,000 years only. It doesn't mean the Parshva people have been around in Persia only 3,000 years. It means that they suddenly, in the past 3,000 years, around that time, they started showing great signs of greatness and imperial expansion. That's what it means. All right. Abirup Sarkar says, how much is it possible for people to regenerate muscles and core strength in their 60s? I suppose, I'm sure you can't build muscles like you could do in your 20s and 30s when you're in your 60s. But I'm sure you can still regenerate muscles, core strength, and so on with a good diet and with proper exercise. Even in your 60s, you will have to take care of your joints. Joints are a problem as you grow older. Yes, you have to take care of your joints, your shoulder joints, your spine, your lower back, upper back, all that, your hips, your knees and ankles. You have to take care of that. Even your elbows. So you have to be more careful in what you do. Maybe use barbells instead of dumbbells, and so on and so forth. But it's certainly possible with the right care and the right training methods and all, that you can still regenerate muscles and core strength and still have a reasonably yoked physique even in your 60s with the right diet and right all of that. Yep. But you won't be able to achieve the same results you could have achieved in your 20s and 30s. That obviously is a limitation. Okay, Arpit Guglani says Methi just ordered Meta to revamp their algorithm and asked for a compliance roadmap to curb anti-India propaganda. How justified are we in doing so? Will this work? Is there a risk of diminishing freedom of speech? So the government of India has asked a foreign platform to revamp their algorithm, and we want a compliance roadmap to curb anti-India propaganda. Privately, in the Meta office, wherever it is, they'll be laughing. Yeah. It's a foreign platform. They'll do whatever the hell they want. Yeah. They recently censored the Indian Prime Minister's post, right? And the government of India thinks that we will tell them what they can do and what they can't do. India needs its own social media platforms. The government should enable the right conditions for this to happen. Imagine you have a nation, the fourth largest economy or whichever largest economy it is, the largest population in the world, and your leaders use foreign platforms to communicate with your own people. Yeah. Is that something to be proud of? Does it evoke pride in your culture, in your country? And how justified are we in doing this? Sure, we are justified. If you want to operate in India, you have to do as per our rules. That's justification. That's a valid justification. Is there a risk of diminishing freedom of speech? If you are on a foreign platform, there's no freedom of speech. What diminishing freedom of speech? Right? There is no such thing as free speech, my dear friends. There is no such thing as free speech. You think I can say everything I want to say here? Do you think I exercise freedom of speech over here? Let's talk about freedom of speech. I don't know what people imagine that there should be freedom of speech. There's no freedom of speech. Do you think I exercise freedom of speech here? I am very careful about what I say and what I don't say. You may not realize it. I may look like I am just effortlessly saying whatever the hell I want to say. No. I am very careful about what I say and what I don't say. There are things I never say. And then you people get upset that he doesn't say these things. You have any idea how diplomatic I have to be? So many things I can't say. You think I don't know things? I know things you can't imagine. But I can't say that. Say those things here. There's no free speech. And you know what? I could say it. I could say those things. I could say certain things here. I mean, I could say it. And you will say that you'll say it's freedom of speech. But do you understand one thing? Even if there is freedom of speech, there's no freedom from consequences. Go say what you want to say. Say it openly in public, and then say that yes, I'm so glad I exercise freedom of speech. But then the receipts come. Consequences happen for saying certain things. Do you understand that? There can be freedom of speech technically, but there's no freedom from the consequences of what you say. And that's why people censor themselves. There is no freedom of speech no matter where you go in the world. All right, end of story. Martyr Fabio says, you say Ceuta can't be part of Spain because it's in Africa. In that logic, Russia morally can't have 75% of its land in Asia. Doesn't make any sense. I shall choose not to exercise my freedom of speech here. Uh, in geopolitics, you have to be hypocritical. Hmm? In geopolitics, you have to be hypocritical. You should have double standards in geopolitics. You should apply one set of rules to your friends, and you should apply a different set of rules to those who are not your friends. Am I being a hypocrite? Sure, I'll be a hypocrite. I'll be a hypocrite. So I say Ceuta should not be part of Spain. Should not. And actually, morally, I'll tell you what. Morally, has Russia conducted genocide in Eurasia? Has Russia conducted genocide in Eurasia? No. What about Spain? The parts of the world it colonized. What has it done? Can you really morally equate Spain and Russia? If you think you can equate, then you clearly have not read history or studied history. Or you may have studied history very superficially. Please study the history of Spanish colonization of the Americas and Africas. Okay, forget about Ceuta. See what they did in Gran Canaria, in the Canary Islands. Where are the natives of the Canary Islands today? Where are they? Where are the natives of Hispaniola? Do you even know what Spain's actions have been historically? And can you really compare them with Russia? No? Yes? Please, find out. Don't just come and pass judgment, sir. Please don't do that. Morally. First be factual, then we'll talk morally. And anyway, I employ double standards. One set of standards for my friends and one for those who are not my friends. Is what it is. V Karma says, where does Russia stand in AI and semiconductors? I have no idea where they stand. They have an AI policy and semiconductor policy. I have seen Mr. Putin's signature on the document. I don't have it here right now, obviously. So they have a policy. But where are they in this? I'm not sure. They seem to be very quiet about this. Either they're doing nothing or they're doing it very quietly. Aryan Rocking Gaming, good to see you, says, I am going to happily start my undergraduate in maths and hope to do research in pure maths. Need your blessings and advice as you have been in academia in the past. First of all, blessings. I'm so glad that you're pursuing this very difficult field. Pure mathematics is beautiful, of course. Beautiful. But it's difficult. Even for somebody who loves it and it's still difficult. So, you know what? You're doing it happily. I'm glad. Very glad. Very glad. So, first of all the best. Do well. Enjoy the journey. And may it be fruitful and successful for you. Advice. Academia, right? Academia, you know what? Naively, you will think academia is about learning and acquiring knowledge and all. But you have to be a little practical in academia. There's a lot of politics involved. Especially if you're in India, there is politics involved. You have to navigate the political minefield in your department and so on. And you have to be punctual and obedient and so on. So do all that stuff, But enjoy the journey. All the best. I'm very glad for you. Minimalist Maverick says, treaty between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. Let's say Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia together strike India. I already addressed the question, right? At least a couple of times. 71, Saudi Arabia and Turkey very hard, even main cities along with Pakistan. How will the important countries react? So if they strike India together and we 1971... See, Saudi Arabia and Turkey are in no position to attack India. They simply don't have the capability to attack India. They can fund Pakistan and supply Pakistan with weapons. Saudi Arabia can fund Pakistan. They have spare cash. They can fund Pakistan, and Pakistan can reroute that money into Turkey and get weapons. That's what they can do. And then Pakistan will be used as the attack dog. Turkey can't attack India. Saudi Arabia can't attack India. They don't have the military wherewithal to do that. How will the top important countries react? They will not care if India is attacked. Okay. Avinash says, I am from GM. 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 My only point in reservation debate is just to increase the cutoff for SC/ST and make it equal as GM. That would ensure quality. What is GM? General. If it means that you're from the general category. My only point in reservation debate is just to increase the cutoff for SC/ST and make it equal as GM. That would ensure quality. I am completely against reservations. My point is that if you want to have reservations, you should have them for a limited period of time, not forever. And secondly, reservations should be on the basis of economic conditions, not your so-called caste. That's my point. That's where I stand on the matter. What you're saying is also actually logically rational and valid. Make the cutoff equal to GM to ensure quality, but if you change anything, then you will lose votes, right? That's the thing in democracy. So Kakashi says leaders should have right beliefs and be incorruptible. Yes, ideally they should. Yes. They should be, well, the right belief means, what is the right belief? Who decides what's right? What is right is the national interest and the civilizational interest. Their beliefs should align with the national and civilizational interests. That's all you can ask for. And of course, they should be incorruptible, which is very hard to find in human beings. But yes, leaders should have that. Yes. Rex says, what does drift mean in ancestry tests? Mine shows the strongest drift for step MLB at 28%, but the highest contributor of my genetic makeup is Sarazm, Iranian Neolithic at 45%. Step is the last of the contributors. Drift. Drift means you move away from something. Strongest drift for step MLBA, 28%. Highest contributor is Iranian Neolithic, 45%. Step is the last of the contributors. What does drift mean in ancestry test? Before I even go to Google, let me think about it logically. Drift means you move away from some baseline, from some median, from some average. Drift. So let's say you are Indian, and let's say that the average Indian person will have a certain percentage of this, certain percentage of that. So in India, allegedly, we have ancient ancestral South Indian and ancient ancestral North Indian, AASI and AANI. So the average Indian person will have a certain percentage of AASI and certain AANI and certain step component and certain Iranian or whatever, that basic genetic makeup. So how far are you from the average? That is the drift. That's how I understand it. Now, let me not go and Google it. You can Google it up and see if I'm correct or not. But from a logical perspective, from first principles, that is what drift is statistically. How far you are from the mean, right? So if your strongest drift is for step MLBA, it means you're 28% different from the average Indian or the average population that is representative of you. And step is the last of your contributors. Okay. So I think that's what it means. Please look it up and see if I'm correct or completely wrong. Okay. Podcast Punjabi says, is it true gold, potassium, oil found in Punjab? I have no idea. Have gold, potassium, and oil been found in Punjab? Yes, significant reserves of potash have been discovered. Historical traces of gold have been identified in certain riverbeds. An exploration of oil and natural gas are underway in Punjab. Fantastic, fantastic. All right, all right. Natural gas and oil. Oh, balle balle. Let's have oil and natural gas in Punjab. Excellent. I hope it. I hope it's found. Okay. Reality. Reality is all inclusive. Says I call it the colonial Aryan imposition myth. Yeah, it's a good term. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. All right. Fast Snail says Rubio policy shift to fund nations without NGOs. So India has this FCRA bill, right? We're going to, tighten the laws about how money can flow into NGOs from abroad and so on. Because India has more NGOs than doctors. India has more NGOs than schools, right? So now the US is going to try and circumvent that. That's what they're trying to do. Yeah, all right. They're going to find other ways of funding. So it's not like they will not fund nations that have NGOs in them. Every nation has NGOs. They'll try and find other ways. They'll try and find ways to circumvent India's new law. Minimalist Maverick says, when will US and China bow down to India? I am not a fortune teller or someone who sees the future. I would say it will take a long time before this happens. Yeah. Reality is all inclusive says, do Indians underestimate their internet influence? I don't think so. I think Indians are very aware of the sheer volume of Indians that you have online. And if they underestimate it, well, they should not. Yeah. Piyush Tina says, please stream in 2K or 4K 1080p is not clear. All right, so thank you for the recommendation. Lippy the Lion says, in Galaxy ESO 253G003, a star is partially shredded every time it approaches a central black hole. I wonder how that region led the star to form to begin with. Maybe the star came from somewhere else. Stars move around. See, the sun is a pretty stable star. We are in this particular neighborhood of our galaxy, one of the arms of the galaxy, and the sun has done about 25 rounds around the galaxy. From time to time, you have flybys of nearby stars. About 80,000 years ago or something, the star passed almost very close to the center, to the solar system. Yeah, very close to the solar system. So stars sometimes move around. Sometimes there are gravitational interactions that eject stars from their positions, and they may end up somewhere very far away eventually. So maybe this star that is partially shredded every time it approaches the central black hole, maybe it did not initially start off in the central part of the galaxy. Maybe it was born somewhere far away. And maybe some gravitational interactions with other stars flung it into the direction of the center of the galaxy, where you have the central black hole, supermassive black hole. And sadly, it ended up there, and every time it closed, it does its nearest approach, it gets shredded a little bit, and the central black hole has a nice meal. Yeah, so I don't think it formed there. I don't think it formed in the central region. It must have formed in some nice stellar nursery somewhere far away, and then the sad fate of existence was such that it got flung into the direction. Yeah. Piyush Sinha says, if we join the European program for fighter jets, will the US punish Europe too? What's the guarantee the EU will not bully India like the US did? There's no guarantee whatsoever. If India joins this European program, the US will be very happy that it's found some other way of applying leverage over India through Europe. Why will the US punish Europe? The US will say, good job, good job, good job. You got a nice bakra. Yeah. So then India will then become beholden to the Europeans, and the Europeans will be able to apply leverage on India. And who benefits? The US. Yes. Reddy always ready says, what's up with Sukhoi 57? Should build hyper missiles instead. What's up with the Sukhoi 57? The Russians have offered the Sukhoi 57 to India. It's not very well battle tested. The Russians have inducted maybe 30, 40 of these maximum, maybe 30 of the jets in their air force. And they have been very careful not to expose it to too much combat or whatever. And the Russians are offering full local production in India, not screwdriver assembly, but actual local production. The Russians are offering full source code transfer and other transfer of technology and so on. Maybe even jet engines. I don't know. We'll see. So the Russians are, and the Sukhoi 57 per unit is much cheaper than the Rafale, despite the Sukhoi 57 being a fifth generation fighter plane. Rafale is 4.5 generation. People say the Sukhoi 57 is not the best plane in the world. Who gives a damn about it not being the best plane in the world? If India can get the opportunity to build a fifth generation fighter plane at home indigenously with full technology transfer, then even if it's not the great plane, take it and slowly improve it. So that's the deal with the Sukhoi 57. We don't know what the situation is. There is no final call taken by India thus far, whether it's the Rafale or the Sukhoi or whatever. Should India build hypersonic missiles instead? Sure, we should. We should, absolutely. Piyush Sinha says Japan has sent its F-2 fighter jets to India. Are those American planes, first of all? Why is the US allowing that? They are focused right now on Iran and ignoring all things their vassals are doing in absence. See, the US doesn't have a single pair of eyes that only looks at Iran. The US has departments that look at every country. Is the F-2 fighter jet American derived? Let's see. Japanese F-2 fighter jet. Yeah, it's derived from the F-16, as you can see. Yeah, it's based on the F-16. So yeah, you could say it's based on an American design. Clearly, it's very much a derivative of the F-16 Flying Falcon, the 1970s fighter plane of the US, which is still very much it's still very active. So Japan has not sold these planes to India. They've come to India on a visit. That's okay. Recently, there was some American plane that was in India for a F-35 in India, right? A year ago. It was in, I think, somewhere in southern India. It was parked for a couple of months. So that's okay. It's okay to send fighter planes to India on a visit. They're not ignoring what their vassals are doing, the Americans. They know exactly what's happening. Okay, Vijay Vagela says Gora Sar from Meta personally came to India to apologize for the silly mistake after making money. Don't you think Gora Sar are so nice? Oh, very nice. Sar, full support, Gora Sar. Salam. Yeah. Yeah, very nice indeed. Arakan says terafab Tesla. Why can't India make such stuff? Yeah, India should make such stuff. I would agree. We should be ambitious. We should make such stuff. I agree with you. There's no reason India can't make such stuff. India should. Okay, Varinder Marwa says, does ABCC11 really affect body odor stations? I have no idea what that is. What is ABCC11? Is it a specific genetic mutation? Is it a gene? Capital ABCC11. What is ABCC11? ATP binding cassette subfamily C member 1. A human gene on chromosome 16 that encodes the multi-drug resistance associated protein, MRP1, ATP dependent efflux pump residing in cell membranes. It exports toxins, glutathione conjugates, signaling molecules, contributes significantly to cancer drug resistance. I don't know what its association with body odor has. East Asians. Okay, ABCC1. Oh, you said 1-1. I'm so sorry. ABCC1-1-1-1. ABCC11. Okay, what is that? A non-functioning variant of this gene reduces underarm secretions that bacteria break down. Most people of East Asian descent naturally lack typical body odor and rarely need deodorant. And so on and so forth. All right. Okay. Looks like it does affect body odor. All right. Interesting. Okay. Piyush G says, you said Indians blatantly support either this party or that in geopolitics. They complete support Israel or completely against USA. And that's because of our education system that kills critical thinking. But where's the but? Is there a follow-up? But Japan had the best education system in the world, yet there were rallies in support of Trump. Does that mean Japan's education system was rubbish? That's a very good question you ask here. Japan's education system is fantastic in science and technology. Excellent. The Japanese education system imposes tremendous burdens on the children. That's also true. It produces robots. But what does it teach about Japan and history? Huh? Have you looked into that? It teaches children that Japan is an evil nation, that Japan did evil deeds, that Japan deserved the nuclear bombs, that America is the good master, that America is a good guy. America has 130 military bases in Japan to safeguard Japan, to protect Japan. And Japan needs the big daddy's protection always. And Japan is evil, and everything bad that happens to Japan is well deserved. And America is superior, and America is good. That's what they teach, please. All right. Anirban says he might eat beef, but he is good range as an actor. And as per you, who could have played the role of Lord Ram? Maybe Hrithik Roshan. Okay, good range and all. Who should have played the role of Lord Ram? Find a new actor who has never acted in a movie before. Why do you need some so-called superstar from Bollywood? Why can't you find a new actor and new actress, talented and never seen before on the big screen? Why can't you find that? Do you only have to choose from a pool of 15 people? Why are Indians so mentally constrained? There are tens of thousands of aspiring actors and actresses who are desperate for a role and who are talented. Look at how Hollywood does things. When there's a new series that comes up, they bring in completely unknown people. And in a couple of years, they become superstars because they act so well. They perform so well. Why can't India do that? Indians simply can't think beyond the little box that they have put their heads inside. Who should have played the role of Lord Rama? A completely new actor who nobody has seen before. Find a fresh face, unspoiled face. Can't you do that? No, they won't do that. They want some so-called superstar. I'm not wasting my time or my money on this movie. Reality is all inclusive says, why India secular despite religion-based partition? I have no idea. Makes no sense. Vibhav Kumar Divangan says, smoking joint and watching. Your opinions on smoking ganja? Okay, good for you. You're enjoying it. Enjoy the joint. My opinions on smoking ganja, not for me. Not for me. From what I hear, it slows people down. It makes you very mellow and makes you accept whatever's happening. You're very calm and very happy with the state of the world and so on, that sort of thing. You really enjoy music. Apparently, music sounds better, and food tastes better. Apparently, I don't know. So from what I hear, people who smoke ganja, marijuana regularly, they typically aren't very productive. That's what I hear. I may be completely wrong. I'm not an expert in this thing at all. My opinion on smoking ganja overall is smoking is not good. Don't smoke. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's your choice. It's not for me, for sure. Piyush says, I mean, there are people in every country that despite being educated well, they take extreme positions. Either this is wrong, that correct. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, sir. All right. Got your point. MPS says, Iran and Israel were very good friends until 1979. Their current enmity is understood as based on religion. But this religion-based demography were there since the beginning. So why are they even friends before 1979? See, the enmity has nothing to do with religion. The enmity has to do with ideology. Before 79, you had Mohammad Raza Pahlavi, who was a secular ruler, who was very strongly aligned with the US. He was a vassal, a puppet of the US. And as such, he was on great terms with Israel. It has nothing to do with religion. After 79, you have an anti-US government that came to power, and also anti-Israel. And their view is that Israel does not have the right to exist. So obviously that's not going to sit very well with Israel. What do you expect? Yeah. So it's nothing to do with religion, actually. Religion is the superficial facade behind what's really out there. And FYI, FYI, yeah. Would you like to hear something interesting? FYI, 1980, I think it was 1980 when the Iran-Iraq war started, right? Which year did it start? I think it's 80 to 88. When did the Iran-Iraq war begin and when did it end? I think it's 80 to 88. Yeah, September 1980 and August 1988. So, Iran-Iraq war. Israel supplied weapons to Iran during the Iran-Iraq war. Don't believe me? Don't believe me? Look it up. Okay? Between 1980 and 1988, Israel supplied weapons to Iran, its sworn enemy. Very interesting. Look it up. Fact check me. Piyush Ji says, Safed Booth says, asks, any chances USA may push Pakistan to send boots on Iran? In exchange, they might give all the nasty Pakistan desires, even military rising teeth, Pakistan to teeth. Will India at least now increase missiles? Yeah, if Pakistan attacks, sends boots on ground in Iran, it could complicate things for Pakistan. For Iran. Could the US ask Pakistan to do that? It's a possibility, yes. But that will weaken Pakistan's position vis-a-vis India. Because if Pakistan is at war with Iran, it has to focus on the western frontier, which will naturally weaken its position on the eastern frontier. And Pakistan may not want to do that. But if the US orders them, they will do whatever the US says. Yeah, the generals will do what the Americans say. What are the chances the US may push Pakistan to send boots on the ground in Iran? I think 20-30%. Yeah. Will India at least now increase missiles? I hope so. Maybe we are doing it quietly. We don't have to announce to the world. It's possible we are doing it quietly. Varinder Marwa says, Putin said, if a fight is inevitable, you strike first. Well, Putin doesn't just say it, he does it, right? Right? Crimea. Well, you know what? Yeah, Crimea, he invaded, right? He invaded. But he invaded in response to the coup that the US conducted in Ukraine, the Euromaidan coup. So it was in response to US actions that he invaded Crimea. And once again, the 2022 war, the special military operation, that was also in response to the relentless eastward expansion of NATO. So, yeah, it was all in response and retaliation. But if a fight is inevitable, you strike first. And that's what Putin does. Yeah. Piyush Sharma says, Manhattan is asking, Elon Musk Falcon rocket 4,000 kilograms crashed into the moon. It formed a crater. What if this happened on Earth on flat land? Okay. So it was not a rocket, it was a booster. It was one of the stages of a rocket. One of the stages of a Falcon rocket. It crashed onto the moon. It formed a crater, yes, a crater that's I don't know, 20 to 70 meters wide or something in diameter, whatever it was. So it formed a crater. What if this happened on Earth on flat land? You see, understand the difference between the moon and the Earth. If you go to the moon, there's no real atmosphere there. There's a very, very tenuous micro atmosphere that doesn't really matter for all intents and purposes. Okay. So there's no real atmosphere that the moon has. So when something falls on the moon, there is no air, there's no atmosphere that causes friction and causes that thing to burn up. So it just hits the ground on the moon. When something falls to the Earth, it has to pass through at least 100 kilometers of atmosphere. And while falling, the thing heats up and it burns up mostly. So if there's a rocket stage falling to Earth, it's going to start burning. The faster it falls, the faster it, the hotter it gets and it burns. So a rocket stage, if it's falling from outer space onto the Earth, it will most likely disintegrate into smaller pieces. And it's likely that those smaller pieces may impact the earth, the ground, if it is on flat land. In that case, there will be some damage. Yeah. But the whole 4,000 kilogram thing will not come in one piece. It will most likely burn and fragment and fall in multiple pieces. So if it is multiple pieces, then the impact, the damage of the impact is less than one gigantic piece falling. That's how it typically goes. And these things have happened in the past. Rocket stages have fallen back to Earth. Deorbiting satellites have fallen back to Earth. That's happened. Yep. Okay. Rarun Rajar says, have you heard about Sigai Quran from Egypt? Nope. What is that? Let me quickly take a look. Sigai Quran. No idea. Chikai Quran. Oh yeah, some Tamil Brahmi inscription, right? Okay, somewhere in Egypt. Yeah. Some graffiti in some Egyptian tomb from about 2,000 years ago. That I was here or something. Hey, good fun. Why not do it? I suppose it was acceptable practice to go and leave some inscription behind 2,000 years ago. Okay, Poe says, why you never read about the Rothschilds? I haven't read about them. I mean, they have been the major players in global politics since the 18th century. I guess triangle is I. See, you can't read about everything in the world. See, yes, I am sadly uninformed about this matter. I haven't read about them. Sorry. Piyush ji says, Safed Booth asked, till this day, I'm really shocked how Modi ji saved Abhinandan Vartaman. If Asim Munir captures any pilot now, will they give us back like before? Are Pakistani fifth generation jets better than ours? Pakistan doesn't have fifth generation fighter planes. It doesn't. It has the F-16 and so on, and the JF Thunder Dragon thing, whatever, JF-17 or whatever. It doesn't have fifth generation fighter planes. Modi ji was able to save Abhinandan Vartaman because he gave Pakistan a choice. Give him back by tomorrow, end of day, or give him back by whatever time. Otherwise, we're going to send like 3,000 BrahMoses or something. Guarantee. So that's why they had to give him back. If Asim Munir captures any pilot now, will they give it back to us? Well, it depends on how we negotiate. Yes. And we should not send any pilots over Pakistan. Use missiles and drones. Why do you want to send pilots over enemy territory? Use missiles and drones, which do the exact same job. That's why, you know what? That's what India should focus on. Missiles and drones. Why do you need to send pilots on enemy territory or over enemy territory? Why? And want to continue further in my previous question, I want to ask if quantity outnumbers quality. So if massive numbers of Pakistan J-10 fighters crash in our territory, then it would anyway be our loss. Okay, quantity. Does quantity outnumber quality? It depends. So let's say you have the best fighter plane in the world. Let's say it's the F-22. Let's say I have 50 F-22s and you have 1,000 MiG-21s. You're going to win. You're going to win. Quantity will trump quality in that case. But if I have 50 F-22s and you have 200 MiG-21s, I may be able to defeat you. 4:1, I may be able to succeed. Okay? But 20:1, I'm doomed. That's how it goes. Kuwar Singh Pratihar says, Jai Ma Bhavani Hukum, Jai Ma Bhavani. How to heal from brain rot? How to change your habits? Brain rot comes from scrolling and all that, right? Go for a walk. Go outdoors. Spend 2-3 hours, whatever time, outside every day. Brain rot comes when you're indoors and you're scrolling, right? Do outdoor activities. Go out under the sun. Spend multiple hours a day doing that. Eventually, it will heal you. Go and take a walk in the forest or in a park. Go and play football. Go and play cricket. Go and wrestle. Go and box. That'll take care of brain rot quickly. Do these things, okay? All the best. All the best. Okay, Piyush ji says, Safed Booth asks, hypothetical if Xi Jinping and Modi ji swapped leadership roles, what do you think would happen in both countries? My reply, in that case, China will sell E20 petrol and India will sell chips gadgets. I think that's I think that's what will happen. I can't think of a better answer than yours. China will sell E20 petrol. Yes, India will sell chips and gadgets. And India will say we will invade some neighboring island country, which isn't. That's what India will do. That's what I can't think of a better answer than that. Yeah, if the roles are swapped. Okay, Prathar Dana says, Namaste, no question. How are you and family doing? Thank you so much. So kind of you. All good, sir. Me doing well, family doing well. I hope you and your family are also doing great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. R. Rarun Roger says, follow up. I think recent protest actual goal is just planting ideas in the youth for change. Not a student protest. It was artificial and successful. I agree with you. The goal was not for some change in the education system or whatever. It was just to start planting the seeds of so-called revolution and regime change in the minds of youngsters. It was obviously not a student protest. Like, look, once again, some geniuses are going to attack me for saying this. The cause was real. The rot in the education system is real. The pain of the students is real. And the protest was hijacked by outside forces. Okay? So it was artificial, it was grassrooted, it was astroturfed. It was successful, yes. Godliness says, after Red Fort desecration, CAA, riots, farm laws, now CJP, and the latest, it's the FCRA. Vice President Vance just called Modi. We all know what this call was about. Every time we just compromise. Well, I hope we don't compromise on core issues of national interest. I hope we don't compromise on the red lines. CJP, farm, yeah, all of these things, India has kind of, chosen not to confront, chosen not to use the rod, chosen to be flexible, chosen to be malleable. Yeah. And I see what matters is what we achieve in the long run. I think the government was right not to crack down on the students or whatever people were demanding. CAA riots, that was very unfortunate. Farm laws being taken back. Once again, the government bent its knee. So overall, it was disappointing, but overall, I can understand why they have done this. They don't want to make a big deal out of smaller matters. They want to keep their eye on the bigger picture. Yeah. Humanity survives this. Will future maps have more or less countries? Well, it depends. If you're talking about the next 20 years future map, next 50 years, next 100 years, next 200 years, who knows? Sometimes we'll have more, sometimes we'll have less. Right? There's not one future, there's multiple futures. Which lens are we talking about? Which lens? Are we talking about 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years? Which one? Right? 1,000 years? Who knows? Saccharine Smooth says, Japan found a way to remove extra chromosomes. Thoughts? No surprise. Biotechnology advances. Good if it is good for humanity, if it is good for solving problems and healing people from whatever diseases they're good overall. Yeah. Vijay Vaghela says, an Italian speaks broken English in Italian accent. It's tutti frutti cute and aesthetic. Yes, but Indians speak fluent English in Indian accent. It becomes a matter of laughter. It's because first of all, Indians feel ashamed of not speaking English with a foreign accent. It's the Indian inferiority complex. Why does it exist? It's because we are made to first, when we are 3 years old, learn a foreign language and then get education through the medium of that foreign language. So and your teachers don't speak English well because they were not educated properly and so on. So what happens is that you end up with Indians who can't speak their own language properly and they can't even speak the foreign language properly. So they are inferior this way and they're inferior that way. And that's why because they feel that speaking English well is the sign of being excellent. And because I can't speak English that well, that's why I must be inferior. They get that feeling inside. So that's why Indians feel inferior. And then foreigners see that Indians feel inferior, so they make fun of Indians to make them feel more inferior. That's the thing. This education system needs to be revamped. This mental slavery, this mental colonial BS of the foreign language education needs to be removed. Why do we teach anything in foreign languages? Do we have no self-respect? What sort of leaders do we have? Right? Yeah. Varinder Barwa says, have you seen Owais Yaqub? He could be India's first MMA fighter. I have heard of him, but I haven't seen him. He recently won some title or some match or somewhere. So I hear he's very good. I hear that he has done well. I haven't seen his fight. Anyway, all the best for him. Do well. Do well, brother. Mr. Rohit says, what should be long-term plan for him from Atak to Katak? Long-term plan. How do you do this? Hard power. Build hard power. Build such incredible hard power nobody can even countenance challenging you. Hard power at scale. That's what India should build. And then attack becomes inevitable. Anubhav says, your views on Trojan War Battle of Troy, is it just mythology or truth? Elements are quite mixed to be completely true. It's true. They have discovered the site of Troy. They have discovered the actual archaeological remains of Troy. Let us go and find it. Yes, shall we? Let's go and find it. And see, Troy was a Greek site, right? It was Greek. Where is Troy today? Yeah? Where is Greece? Greece is here. Is Troy in Greece? Troy is Hisarlik. It's now in Turkey. Hisarlik. Oh, come on. Is this the one? Is it near the seashore? Yeah. Most likely this is the one. So this is the site of ancient Troy. What does it say? Kalesi. What's it mean? There are multiple Hisarliks. Is this the one? Cemetery. Okay, let me do a Hisarlik Troy. Okay, look, I'm not sure what all these words mean in Turkish, but we actually have the archaeologists and historians have actually discovered the actual location of Troy, and it actually existed. It's not a myth, and you can see there are scorch marks and burn marks, and you can see arrowheads and spearheads in the site, the evidence of battle, and so on. So it's a real thing. Yeah. Deepesh Sharma, thank you very much, Deepesh Sharma. By Carmel Mind, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Opinion on ISKCON, please. Do you know about Prabhupada? Yes, I of course know about Prabhupada. Opinion about ISKCON? Good. What else do you want me to say? All right. Okay, so that is the end. That brings me to the end of today's live stream. So thank you so much, everybody. It was great fun. Almost 4 hours. Let's end it over here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much, everyone. Keep learning, keep asking questions, keep raising your standards. I'll see you soon in the next one. Very soon. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Good day. Good night.